And we are live. How's everybody doing tonight? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and you're watching and/or listening to ABL Live. Thank y'all for joining me tonight. You could be almost anywhere in the whole wide world, but you're right here with me live on the show. We got a whole lot going on. Your man Joe Biden will give his speech later on tonight. I'll cover that speech. I figure he won't be up there for too long, probably for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, so I got enough time to cover that tonight. We'll see what the old man's talking about up past his bedtime. I wonder how they're going to keep him awake throughout the entire speech. Also, this whole thing of police reform. I did a video earlier this week, and it was just kind of on my mind. Do we need police reform, or do we need other types of reform? Like, what kind of reform do we really need? What's the bigger issue here? We'll talk about that a little bit later. Also, menthol cigarettes. Are they racist somehow? I'm struggling to figure out how menthol cigarettes are racist, but maybe they are. Maybe you guys could tell me. Giuliani gets his house raided by the FBI. Was apartment, pardon me, up there in New York City. Why? For what? Is it revenge or is it for a real reason? The shooting got there in North Carolina and Elizabeth City. That's going to be interesting once they let all the details out. The first detail is that he tried to hit the officers with the car before he got shot. We'll talk about all those things and more on tonight's episode of ABL Live. And again, thank y'all for being here. You could be almost anywhere in the world, but you're right here with me live on the show. And I appreciate y'all for that. If you enjoy the content, if you enjoy what you heard thus far, go ahead and give the video a like, hit that thumbs up button. Also, if you're not subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. Go ahead and subscribe for me right now. It is totally free. And if you're listening to this particular podcast on your favorite audio streaming platform, Apple iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Anchor, etc., go ahead and give me a 5-star rating, review, whatever you can, positive on that platform. Wherever you are, go ahead and do that. And of course, if you want to find it on your favorite audio streaming platform, just go search ABL over there, and I should pop right on up. There's also plenty of links in the box. You know, we got merch on deck. I got a sale going on right now. I got the 1776 hats. I got the Survive the Pandemic hats. I digress merch. I got all kind of stuff. Matter of fact, hold on one second. I'm going to pull up some of my hats I got. Oh, yeah, I got a whole arsenal. Just so we can go ahead and do this right now in the very beginning. I got some special hats that are going to be coming like real soon that I'm going to do a special order for. So I can't show you the little prototype I got of that one. This is one of my main ones I liked. And I designed everything. You know, this is one of my main ones. So I got that in many different colors, different styles. And then I got some of these kind of color hats with the American flag on it. Yeah, everything's there. Everything's the way it's supposed to be. You know, trucker style hats. I got snapback hats. I got a lot of these. I got hats everywhere. So I got these same kind of ones, but in the snapback. So you see it's not vented back there. It's just a straight hat. And then I got these. The kerfuffle. Okay, I need to get those for you as well. But I got these as well. Okay. I got these in, I think I got shirts, mugs, and I got hats. I'll probably be wearing these soon too. But I've kind of just been kind of rolling them out, wearing them. So I've designed everything. This is all me, all my work, Photoshop, Illustrator, everything. And I send it to my fulfillment people, and I get her done. I was on the phone today with a shop out here in Tennessee where I live, and we're going to get some flags done really soon. Not flags, pardon me. We're going to get some hats done with an American flag theme real soon. And it's going to be a style that I have, but I don't have. I'm going to try to push for the raised lettering on it. So that's what it is. All right. You want handbags, Miss Adams? Hey, no problem. Velcro. Do I have Velcro? I'm not sure. I got the dad hats back here. So I got the dad hats. These do have Velcro, actually. Matter of fact, can you hear that? A little ASMR. So yeah, these do have Velcro. Yes, the dad hats. The 1776 dad hat version, distressed dad hat. I'm able to get a non-distressed one too, but I just like the way that the distressed one looks. My head is just humongous, so I can't really wear them right. But these I made with the 1776 on the front, and then on the back I put the small American flag, the Betsy Ross style, and these do have Velcro straps on them. And if your head is not gigantic like mine, this will look great in your head. Book bags, handbags, yeah, I can do all that. I may do autograph tats. I may, because I got a shipment coming in that I need to go ahead and just, like, these are all made to order. So as soon as you order them, they make them at the center. So I got them here in the U.S. I got them overseas. Like if you live in Europe, it would be a center in Europe that'll make them for you right there, right? And so it's easier to get to you versus coming from here. But if you're living in America, it'll come from here. But everything is made to order. But I'm gonna have some where I'm gonna just buy them, have them made here in Tennessee, and then we're going to ship them out to wherever. So I can do some from that order that I autograph. So that'll be what it is. All right. So we got a whole lot going on. I don't want to talk too much about the hats, but to button that up, use promo code 1776, the same way it's spelled and written right here. You spell what numbers? But anyway, the same way it's written, 1776, just the 4 numbers, 1776. On the website right now, you get 20% off on ablmerch.com. All right. Oh, shout out to Darren. Thank you. Yeah, big timer. But yeah, we got a whole lot going on right now. Where do I begin? First of all, the Joe Biden speech is at about 9:00, and I'm going to kind of shift to that when it happens. We probably won't spend too much time, like I was saying. We probably won't spend too much time on it. He might be out there for a good 15 minutes. You know how Joe Biden does. He's not going to be out there delivering some kind of epic speech. Okay, a joint session before Congress. What is he really going to say? It's 9:00. If he's not had his nap properly, he's going to be up there about to go ahead and fall straight asleep. So maybe when he gets caffeinated, gets his little power nap or whatever, then they'll just drag him out of his cryo chamber, put him up there, put some planks behind him so he doesn't fall over, like Geppetto, Weekend at Bernie's. They'll go and do that to him, and then they'll speak for a little while about infrastructure and things of that nature, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll go ahead and get to that later. That's like 9:00. We're not going to talk about that right now. I'm going to talk about things that are happening. I think I want to open with menthol cigarettes, kind of on a light note, but on a not so light note. Menthol cigarettes. So they're going to ban the flavor of menthol coming up very soon here. And Darren is just giving me this whole semi-check right there. Thank you, Darren. But they're going to ban menthol cigarettes very soon. Now, the process, I guess, has started, but I'm not really sure when they're going to actually put it into effect. You understand what I'm saying? So they're going to do the whole process now, but it may not be banned for a while. And right when I saw that they said they're going to ban menthol cigarettes or the menthol flavor from cigarettes, I'm like, okay, like this is all because of, they're trying to improve black people's health. All right, because the whole stereotype, black folks and Newports. I'm not saying the stereotype is unfounded, like black folks and Newports don't go together like peanut butter and jelly to a certain extent. Out of those that smoke, not every black person, but if you see a black person smoking, it might be a Newport. But anyway, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but we're not the only ones that like Newports. Okay, you got whites that like Newports or menthol cigarettes in general. With them Virginia Slims and Cools and stuff like that. You got Hispanics that they're smoking menthol cigarettes. You got the guys out here where I live. You got construction happening and they're building stuff all day. They're blasting their music, the horns and all that kind of stuff. And they definitely gonna take a few drags off of some menthol flavored cigarettes, 100%. Okay, they be on the roof with the nail gun and all of that. That's fine. But they're going to take a drag off of menthol. It is what it is. All right. Menthol cigarettes are not exclusive to black people, although we have a very high rate of using it. It's not exclusive to us. As a matter of fact, in the article that I was reading, they said that if they were to ban the menthol flavor, that about 930,000 people in the U.S. could possibly quit because they don't want to smoke cigarettes without the menthol. Or I'm not really sure how they tabulating that. Maybe they're thinking about potential people that may smoke. I don't know. But anyway, so out of that 930,000 people, only 230,000 people will be black. So let me get this straight. Out of nearly 1 million people that may quit due to banning menthol flavor from cigarettes in the U.S., 1/4 of that would be black people. So while that is more than the population percentage, 13% of the population, 25% of those that may stop smoking menthol, that's not the majority or anywhere close to it. You're only 1/4 of those that may quit due to menthol cigarettes being banned. So why not speak about the other groups that could be affected by this? Okay. And if it's about health that affects one particular group, why not talk about whites and their chewing tobacco, right? Like I said in my video, you'll see guys on TV, or you did back in the day, not so much anymore, but there are a bunch of guys on TV with half of their tongue missing, half of their jaw gone, looking really crazy. Fallout 4, Fallout 76, just weird, disfigured stuff. Oh, I lost my job because of chewing tobacco. They got all that kind of stuff going on, right? I'm like, okay, why don't you talk about that? Because you also have menthol and some chewing tobacco, and that affects a lot of white folks. So why don't we talk about that? It's because I think they're trying to get some woke points. In the article, they literally invoked Black Lives Matter. It's like, what? How did we go from the FDA talking about banning menthol flavor from cigarettes for health to all of a sudden we got into the land of Black Lives Matter? What does that got to do with it? They're saying that because of Black Lives Matter and that whole thing that's been going on, that there could be, a renewed interest in getting this whole ball rolling, because apparently this has been a thing for a while, trying to ban menthol cigarettes. Apparently it was not just some kind of one-off. This had been going on for a minute. It's kind of strange to me, but whatever. It's kind of weird. Oh, and also, while they're trying to ban menthol because black folks smoke Newports and we got to protect the black man, they are legalizing weed everywhere. Now, they're saying cigarette smoke is dangerous because it affects your lungs, right? The nicotine gets you addicted. The menthol is non-addictive. Menthol just makes it taste good to some people. I don't really know. I'm not a smoker. So you guys, if you smoke, you know better than I do. But I guess menthol tastes better. Maybe they're saying it's like chewing spearmint gum. I don't know. But the menthol is not the harmful thing. Nicotine gets you addicted. But I think the problem with cigarettes is the smoke and the things inside the smoke. So a marijuana, I'm not saying it's like a terrible thing that's like heroin, but if the concern is your lungs, inhaling any kind of burned organic material would be the same thing. If you are in a house fire, most people in a house fire die from smoke inhalation, not the fire, not the actual flames. They die from the smoke inhalation because they can't breathe. So if you're going to legalize weed and push for that, and you got guys that are out there smoking weed, and that's what we do, isn't that going to have a similar effect on your lungs? I'm not saying it'd be the same thing, obviously, because in cigarettes, especially modern cigarettes, you're going to have a lot of additives. Or back in the day, it was as well. You got a filter or whatever, but that's not really going to cancel out everything. But in marijuana, you're still going to have smoke in your lungs. If you're not doing edibles or whatever, the little gummies, you're going to be smoking. That's going to affect you. You got these guys with this cough all day long, big coughs. That's happening. So, but that's fine. We're not worried about the health effects of the smoke in your lungs when it comes to weed. That's totally cool. But menthol cigarettes, and then they're not going to actually ban the cigarette. It's like, all right, we're talking about menthol encouraging smoking because smoking is bad and that'll kill your lungs and it's going to lead to lung cancer. But we're not banning the thing that actually causes the lung cancer in the cigarette. We're just going to ban the menthol flavor because black folks like menthol. It's so dumb. It's so silly. And it's not even really a problem. Like I said, who asked for that? Who asked to eliminate menthol flavored cigarettes? Did anybody request that? Did anybody call the FDA? It's like, hey, can we get a ban on the menthol cigarettes? Nobody asked for that. They're leaving the border wide open at the southern border. And you got fentanyl just flowing in. You got black folks, white folks, Hispanics, Asians, everybody ODing on fentanyl. They said DMX died from crack laced with fat. That's what I heard. Maybe I'm wrong. If you guys know more than I do, let me know in the comments. Matter of fact, I think it was Irv Gotti. And let me see. Irv Gotti said that, yep, Irv Gotti says DMX overdosed on bad dose of crack mixed with fentanyl. So, I mean, oh, we love DMX forever. Not saying that's wrong to say, but let's talk about what really happened. Let's talk about it for real. Let's talk about these drugs and how they kill people and how you got all these legal drugs that are being sold illegally. That's the problem. And, you know, a big problem with fentanyl, a big problem with these drugs is big pharma. Okay, I'm not the kind of guy that would just say the street dealers are all bad and ignore big pharma. Big pharma is a big part of the reason why we got this fentanyl problem, because fentanyl comes from big pharma. It's a synthetic heroin that's stronger than heroin. All right, so that's it right there. This is on rollingout.com. May or may not be right. I'm seeing it in different blog sites. But Irv Gotti allegedly said that the crack that DMX had smoked was laced with fat, and that caused the death. Maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. All right. But anyway, that's the actual problem. Fentanyl, the southern border being wide open, all kind of drugs that are counterfeit drugs, things that people may normally take that once out in the street become more harmful because they're not proper, they're not mixed right, it's just bad. So while we trying to just focus on menthol flavored cigarettes, not even banning the cigarette, you got fentanyl and stuff like that coming across the border. It's weird. It's totally weird. But my question was, okay, what they're going to ban next? They're going to ban Schlitz malt liquor. They're going to ban 40 ounces of beer. You're going to have Billy D. Williams come back and apologize, a tearful apology, talking about, I was so wrong to promote alcohol for all those years. I want to repent for my sins. Is that what he's going to do out on television? It's so dumb. But yeah, so they're going to do that very soon as far as getting the ball rolling. But I'm not really sure when that will go into effect as far as banning menthol permanently. All right. So, right, smoke menthol and get the jab. Yeah, Big Pharma pushing all these vaccines. And, you know, the vaccine is kind of strange. It's kind of confusing to me because they say, okay, you can get the vaccine, but it won't really protect you. It'll just make the symptoms be less, but it won't prevent you from catching it or spreading it. So what is it really? It's like medicine. That's kind of what it seems like to me. Preventative measures to take. It's like, all right, if you have allergies and you take something for your allergies, it's not curing your allergies or preventing you from having an allergic reaction. It's just making the symptoms less severe. That's kind of what it seems like to me. Do you call that a vaccine, or do you just call it medicine? Do you just call it treatment? Do you just call it some kind of symptom relief? It is not cure it, eliminate it, or prevent it, or stop it. So what is it really? All right. So yeah. Charles Wilcott says ban on wife beater shirts. That's hilarious. Yeah, no wife beaters, no old school Cadillacs with wheels above 22 inches on them. Okay, no nothing. We're just going to ban all kind of things that could be stereotypical because somehow they're harmful. Somehow they're harmful more than the things that the government wants you to take, like big pharma's drugs, like open southern border, illegal aliens, no vaccines, not even vaccines for childhood stuff, let alone the virus. But I digress. So thank you all for being here. Definitely appreciate you guys. And that's a good point right there. Vaccines only effective for 3 to 8 months, and then you need more shots. You need a, quote, booster or repeat shot. That is 100% accurate. All right, let me see. Weed kills some cancers. Maybe it does. You know, I don't know too much about that, so I can't really talk on it. All I'm saying is that they're trying to push for certain things to be legal, and they're not trying to prevent other things that are already illegal that are very harmful, like the heroin coming across the border, the fentanyl, but they want to ban menthol. It's kind of just strange. All right, what else we got going on? So, police reform. Like I was saying on my Twitter a few days ago, we don't need police reform. We need unruly baby mama reform. We need crackhead daddy reform. We need family reform. We don't need police reform. I'm hearing all these people say, oh, we got to get police reform, and that's going to be find some kind of middle ground. What middle ground do we need to find to try and quote unquote fix the police? Why? Why do we need that? We don't need that. We need to just get people tightened up. And like I was saying, we need to go kind of the other direction and have police be a little bit more tough. Have these prosecutors be more tough. Why do you have these girls that killed a man, that killed a man after they tried to carjack him, and they're not even going to the penitentiary? 13 and 15-year-old girls killed this man while carjacking him, won't go to the penitentiary. And the police chief said out of his own mouth, hey, what's the point in locking them up in the penitentiary? It won't bring the man back. It's like, is that how we're going to do it? Is that how we really going to play this game? Why not say the exact same thing for an adult? You could be an adult carjack. You could be a 25-year-old gangbanger for the past 10 years. You could have started gangbanging at age 15 years old, shooting, robbing, doing all that kind of stuff. You get to be 25. You are on your 85th arrest, and you mess around and take somebody's life. What are they going to say? Oh, well, there's no point in sending them to the penitentiary because that won't bring the man back. It's like, no, this person is a pure menace to society. He's a menace. So we need to get him locked up. We need to get him locked up. He can't be here anymore. He's terrorizing the community. He's a complete menace. He needs to go right away, immediately. Don't try to say, what's the point in locking them up? It won't bring the man back. It's not even about bringing the man back. It's about making this guy be removed from society. Because I know what, if you have a very violent repeat offender that does not care about going to jail, he does not care about law because obviously he keeps getting off, he doesn't really care, he'll do whatever he wants to do. I don't want to run into that guy having a bad day. I did a story before a few years ago about this guy who was a literal hitman, black guy. He had just come home from jail. He did like 12 years for murder. Another slap on the wrist, 12 years for murder. But anyway, he had just come home from jail. He did 12 years for murder. He came to Virginia from Georgia and was a literal hitman. He killed one person, got paid to do it. It was him and his EMT girlfriend, but that's a different story. Anyway, he was on the way to go. Matter of fact, before I get to the last part, he killed one guy, got paid for it. He was in a neighborhood to kill somebody else as a contract hit job, but he missed his target. He couldn't really get it done, so he was frustrated. Now, there was an innocent bystander out there waiting for his daughter to come out so he could take her to work. I think she worked at a gas station or something like that overnight. So the dad was out there waiting on her to come out. He was going to give her a ride to work. So the guy's out there frustrated. He missed his target and shot the father that was waiting on his daughter because he just happened to be right there. Innocent bystander because of that guy's frustration. Again, I don't want to come around a guy like that should not be out in society. As a regular normie, I don't want to be involved with it. And that guy actually died, the hitman, because the police ran up on him at a 7-Eleven. They were in the car going to get payment for another hit they were about to do or had already done. And the police rolled up on him. Now, this guy had his baby mama, girlfriend, whatever, in the car with him in passenger side. Matter of fact, she was the driver, if I'm not mistaken, and he was in the passenger side. And they had their baby, the Goo Goo Gaga baby, in the back, right? Now, the baby was fine. Spoiler alert, baby was fine. But when the police pull up, he puts his feet on the door that was facing him and his back to baby mama and begins to shoot 2 guns at the police. They shoot him back, of course. He dies, and the baby mama, she ends up dying too because one bullet came through him and hit her. Now, luckily, the baby was completely unharmed. God was on the baby's side that day, for sure. Not even joking. The baby was totally fine, unharmed. But I'm glad that happened because, well, I'm glad, not that the people had passed away, but I'm glad that the baby was not in that situation anymore. to not be around those kind of people anymore because baby had no chance. How are you going to grow up with your dad as a literal hitman, taking you on jobs with him, and your mom's right there driving? You have no chance. But see, that kind of guy needs to be in jail. So nobody should say, hey, what's the point in locking them up because the guy won't come back, because that kind of stuff happens. You putting people in danger that shouldn't be in danger. But I digress. So yeah, we don't need police reform, do we? I don't think so. Why do we need police reform? For what? Why? We don't need it. We need to go the other direction so that guy that was a literal hitman out there killing innocent dads, almost getting his baby killed, maybe guys like that would be in the penitentiary longer if we had harsher penalties for a crime like, I don't know, murder. I'm not referring to drugs and stuff like that. That's a whole different story. I'm talking about violent crime. I know guys that have done violent crime, shooting in people's houses, shooting people, and guys are getting slaps on their wrist. Known violent felons getting slaps on the wrist. It's weird. And then when you have people that get a harsh sentence, all of a sudden it's a problem. Reform the police. And you know what? They're talking about methods of training, how the police could be trained to, shoot limbs and de-escalate. I saw a video today of a Chicago youth. It might have been Black Hispanic. I'm not really sure what it was. But anyway, a Chicago youth running from the police and produced a weapon. So the police shoot him. They appear to be all Hispanic. I can't really say that for certain, but I think the person with the gun, the youth, was Hispanic, and then the officers were as well. But I can't confirm that. But anyway, so the youth was running, produces a gun, and the officer shoots him. Now, that guy gets shot in his leg. He dies almost instantly. Because people don't understand. If you get shot with a gun, you can die. It doesn't really matter where you get shot. There are certain parts of your body where you may not die from getting shot. Like if you get shot in your hind parts and you get shot kind of like perpendicular to your body, where it's not like going straight through, hitting some other organs. But if you get shot on your hind part, meat area in the back, and it kind of just grazes it, you might not die from that. But if you get shot in the leg and it hits the femoral artery, it's a wrap. You're going to bleed out right there. No, more often than not. And you might bleed out in a very short period of time. This guy was so crazy. The guy that got shot, he was on his phone, like checking his, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what could be that important, sir, where you get shot in your leg, you're bleeding out, and you got to be on your phone. But anyway, unimportant point. That was just on my mind. The point is that shooting in the leg is not really a viable solution because you can bleed out that way. If you get shot, your life may end regardless. The best way to shoot is center mass because you have the least chance of missing. Limbs, they kind of crazy and gangly. You can't really hit that. If you're running especially, this is moving a lot. But as you're running, your torso area is not really moving a lot. Like your arms would be. If you're running like this, these are moving, your legs are moving, your head is moving, but this ain't. And it's big, so you can shoot that area. You have the smallest chance of missing, and you can also end the threat that way because you're the one to miss and then hit innocent bystander, hit something that you shouldn't be hitting. You want to hit that person, end the threat. Very simple. Oh yeah, the phone is an addiction for sure. It's definitely an addiction. That man bleeding out on his phone. I'm talking about literally like this on the ground, like he's in his bed. It's like, sir, do you understand what just happened? You just got shot like a few times or at least once or twice. Maybe that should be your primary focus rather than going on your Instagram or your TikTok or whatever. But like I said, the point is not really important, but it was on my mind, so I had to share it with you guys. So we don't need police reform. We just need people to act right and do better. How about that? All right. So does that include abortion? I'm not sure what you mean. I'm not sure what the context of that question is. But thank y'all again for being here. Appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed what you're hearing so far, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Also, share the video. And If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and do that for me. I'd appreciate it if you did. 100%. And the shooting I was speaking of was in Chicago. What was the person's name? I'm not really sure. But the guy was on his phone. I forgot where that was. It was in Chicago, but I'm not really sure who it was. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. I can't play it, obviously, because that's just way too graphic. All right, so this is on March 31st, 2021, near West Eddy Street. The guy was named Anthony Alvarez, 22 years old. So, yeah, that's probably Anthony Alvarez, probably Hispanic. And it looks like the officers were also Hispanic. So you won't hear about that on the news. That will not be on the news because you got everybody's Hispanic. Where's the story? You got to have a black unarmed suspect. The guy appears to be Hispanic. He was armed, had a gun that was on camera. They spotted it. You could see it right on the camera. I think it was a body cam and ring cam from somebody's house. And then the officers that were involved were Hispanic. So there's no story there. There's only a story when the person is black and the officers are white. Now, speaking about officers, I almost forgot about this one here. This was in North Carolina and what we call East City, Elizabeth City. You know, I'm from this area, not North Carolina specifically, but Elizabeth City is like in my region because it's right on Route 17. If you take that up half hour, 45 minutes, you're at my old house. It's like in the same general area. It's northeastern North Carolina where this particular shooting happened, but I lived in southeastern Virginia, so it was like right there in the same Tidewater region, basically. Okay. Now they're talking about they got Ben Crump out there. They're gonna have a funeral with Al Sharpton doing the eulogy or whatever he's gonna do. Sharpton's there, Ben Crump's there, black man killed by police, execution style, back of the head, all this, that, and the third. But the problem is that the guy he actually hit deputies with his car before the shooting. He didn't necessarily just try to hit the deputies. He hit them with his car. So if I come to your house, I'm serving a warrant, you pull up in your car, and I get hit with your car, and you appear to be very aggressive, it's like, okay, what's the next step here? Do we just say, all right, let him go, and what do you do? Now, they're not releasing the body cam footage because the judge said you can't swing a skunk in front of people and expect not to smell it. It was weird. He did not want to taint the public or the jury pool. I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning was, but anyway, he won't release the body cam footage until 30 to 45 days out. Now, this is the shooting that happened in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, which is in northeast North Carolina, about half hour from Virginia Beach Metro, the Virginia Beach City part, not just like the borderline, which is not really a whole lot out there. It's kind of rural. But to like the oceanfront, 17th Street is like a half hour. All right. And you already got BLM and whatnot out there. But one thing I want to know about the shooting out there in North Carolina was the officer white? Because Elizabeth City is majority black. People don't really know that because they're not familiar with the area. Elizabeth City is 52% black and 39% white. So there's a high chance you had a black cop that did the shooting. And if it wasn't a black cop that did the shooting, there was probably a black cop, at least one black cop out there. You're in the mostly black area, a majority black town. Surely you're going to have a lot of black folks in the police force. And somebody's like, well, so what? That's not always the case. You could have a majority black town and then an all-white police force. It's like, okay, well, if that's somehow a problem, then whose fault is that? Whose fault is it if you live in a majority black place and the police are all white, the firefighters are all white? Whose fault is that? I mean, you can't blame the white man when you are the majority. That makes no sense, does it? And the thing about Elizabeth City is that, you know, people are pretty much the same. When you hear black folks and white folks talk, there's a difference, but not that much of a difference because, you know, it's a small town. Everybody grew up together. It's not like, you know, big city where things are more segmented or people are not really going to be, nomadic or anything. They're going to pretty much live there and they got family there for a long time. That's kind of how it is. All right. So there were 7 cops put on leave over the North Carolina shooting. That's crazy. That's totally crazy. And somebody may ask me, I think somebody asked about Joe Biden. I'll switch to Joe Biden once that comes on. That's about another 20, 30 minutes or so. So we got time for that. And I think that he won't really be on stage too long because, his past his bedtime is already about 8:37. He'll be out there about 9 o'clock, talk for about 5 to 10 minutes and call it a wrap. I could be wrong. They may give him a nice nap, give him a nice shot of B12 or some kind of energy booster, give him a little pick me up, and he could be out there for 30 minutes maybe rather than 15. Who knows? We'll see. All right. But North Carolina is not like that. Pasquotank County, it's not like this racially charged place. Not, Tidewater region, North Carolina. It's not like that. It's pretty chill. I grew up in that area, the general area, Virginia Beach, 7 cities, and it's chill. This whole thing about police brutality is not really a thing out there. Okay. I know guys that have been locked up for very serious crimes and did not get beat up by the police. So how are you going to be, just a traffic stop and get beat up by the police or shot when there's not a reason to do that? That doesn't make any sense. Especially now where everything is going on, the police are hesitant to do anything that could be considered wrong because they could be implicated in a thing that they're not really at fault for. So they don't want to jeopardize that at all. But even before that, North Carolina, Outer Banks, Elizabeth City, New Bern, places like that, it's not really like this bad cops tension. It's not like that kind of place at all. All right. But what else we got going on? And hold on. Let me get back to where I was. So we'll see Joe Biden in a little bit. Y'all don't worry about that. Oh, so Giuliani had his home raided, his apartment in Manhattan raided by the federales. Now, this is revenge, pure and simple. Ain't nothing but revenge. Because what's the point in raiding his apartment and not even arresting him? Like, why do all that? It's like theater. You're doing it like middle of the daytime. Press is out there. It reminds me when they raided Roger Stone. Remember that? And they had CNN out there. They had the scoop. Tell me, how did CNN get the scoop about Roger Stone being raided? How did that happen? Like, give me the 411 on that piece of information. They were out there before the police were. They were camped out, ready for it to happen. Or the federales or whoever, the police federales, same thing. Anyway, so they came to Roger Stone's house with a speedboat in the back. They came with like a battering type device. It was crazy. It's like, are you trying to catch El Chapo right now or what? You trying to get this man who was not hiding at all. He was not like holed up in his house with hostages and people tied up on the ground with the pistol to their head talking about get out, we want money. That wasn't happening. He was just probably in there sleep, chilling in his bathrobe and his slippers with his wife just hanging out doing or either they were sleeping or just chilling. And then all of a sudden here comes the federales making this big scene that CNN has a scoop on. It seems to be the same thing with Giuliani. All right. They're raiding his apartment, not even arresting him. At least in the case of Roger Stone, they arrested him. But they did not arrest Giuliani. They let him just stay in the apartment. They didn't tell him to leave. He probably was just in there, chilling, hanging out. And just watching them go through the apartment. He had a radio show today, if I'm not mistaken. I think he still did it. He didn't even leave. He was just in there. So it's like, what's the point in doing this? Is this because Giuliani is, he has some really secret information, some things that he shouldn't have, sensitive information? Like, what is the real reason? I think it's because he let the Hunter Biden cat out the bag and let everybody know what time it was, that this guy had been on Burisma Holdings, getting all this money, the whole thing with China, the pictures that were inappropriate, just the whole situation embarrassed the Bidens. So it seems like, okay, now that the Biden family is in power, quote unquote, we're going to retaliate against them. And I feel like the feds could use the resources more wisely. They're still trying to lock guys up from the 6. It's like, for what? Why? What is the reason? You're trying to lock guys up that really didn't do that much. I'm not trying to say that what they did was legal or illegal. I don't know exactly what they may be charged with, but I'm seeing pictures of guys that are just kind of in there, just, I don't know, not even really doing much. What are you really going to get somebody on that went to the Capitol when they, I guess, shouldn't be? What, trespassing? It's not breaking and entering because it didn't break in, I don't think. Not all of them. A lot of them were let in. So what are you really going to charge them with? You're wasting your resources on that. And like I said, meanwhile, the southern border is wide open. Wide open. You got human trafficking victims, drugs. They steal and sell everything. The cartels, that is. They'll steal your car. They'll steal a whole F-150 from your driveway with no keys. They'll put the whole thing on a flatbed and drive smooth off. Oh, I'm a towing company and bounce. Across the border, and your car will be gone. You never see it again. They steal oil, like raw petroleum from pipelines, and sell that. They do everything. We're just letting that happen like it's nothing. They got these centers completely crowded. A center that should hold, 300 people now has 5,000 people. And there's nothing to be said about that. That's not really a big deal. Everybody says on the left, that is, that Biden's doing a great job. How is he doing a great job when these centers are overcrowded like that? How does that really make any sense? Yeah, exactly, Liv. They did it to get back at Trump. Because it's about Trump still. They're bringing up stuff for 2019 interviews with Chris Cuomo on CNN. It's like, how are you bringing up interviews right now? What does that got to do with anything at all? You're bringing up things that are completely unrelated just to try and fail, in my opinion, to prove a point. I'm not sure what the point is. I think it's just to embarrass and to intimidate because, like I said, it didn't even arrest a man. So I think they should focus on real things like the Hunter Biden tape, like what Joe Biden was doing with Burisma. Is he the quote-unquote big guy that Hunter was referring to? Let's talk about that part. All right, let's really get into it. Okay, his and Biden, I think, really, aside from the corruption with getting the money, he's just a puppet at this point. It's almost sad. I almost feel like kind of bad, almost, and then I realize, what are you doing? This man is active in the demise of the country. It's not just him being controlled against his will. You got to go out there and do that. You can. He's willfully being abused by the establishment. That's what he wants to do. Then that's on him. Why would I feel bad that he wants to go out there and be treated that way? That he knows he's pretty much got both feet in the grave, but still wants to be out there, just campaigning for the Democratic Party, being the puppet that he is. I don't feel no ways tired, as Hillary Clinton would say. All right, so I'm looking at the screen over here. Let me see if I can just switch right quick. Let's do it the proper way. Okay. There we go. So once that gets rocking and rolling, I'll switch over there. But for right now, they're just pretty much chilling. Okay, that'll be about 9 o'clock. Because I will show some of the Joe Biden. If I put it to you like this about Joe Biden, if I start showing that and it gets kind of boring, I'll just go ahead and switch off. If it gets long-winded, like he's just not going to stop anytime soon, and it's like getting kind of late, I'm going to cut it. I won't show it for that long. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. All right. But yeah, so the whole thing with Giuliani, unnecessary, ridiculous, and hypocritical to say the least.
The chair appoints as members.
All right, hold on. Let me turn that down.
To escort the President of the United States into the chamber. The gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Hoyer. The gentleman from South Carolina.
All right, so they're showing them right now, I guess.
The gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Ms. Clark. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Jeffries. The gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar.
Okay, so they're doing like the preliminary stuff right now. And look, they got Kamala Harris up there. That's going to be a big talk tomorrow. They're going to talk about, Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi. That's the dream team. That's going to be, women, not black girls rock because they're not black. I think Kamala could be considered kind of black. Maybe white girls rock. I'm not really sure what's going on. But anyway, that's going to be a big thing. Everybody got their blazer on. She don't know what's happening. She got to get coached by Nancy Pelosi.
Of the Senate to escort the President of the United States into the House chamber. The senator from New York, Mr. Schumer. The senator from Vermont, Mr. Leahy. The senator from Illinois, Mr. Durbin. The senator from...
Okay, preliminary stuff is not really important right now. We'll get to that a little bit later. Yeah, 2 losing women. Definitely. So we're going to see how this whole thing plays out. You know, one thing that they like to do on these, they like to get in to the into the theatrics. That's a big thing they really enjoy, especially Pelosi. Remember the whole thing with Trump? She's doing the whole clap like this. We'll see how this whole thing plays out. I think they're going to try to make Joe Biden appear to be like the picture of health, which he is not, obviously. You see how they're standing? They're like kind of distant still. What's the point in distancing when they came out and said, I'm not sure what this study was from, CDC or whatever. They said that it doesn't matter if you're 6 feet apart or 60 feet apart. It's the same. Like, the virus is still going to transmit. So what's the point in distancing still? And they all probably got the vaccine. So if the vaccines work and there's no point in distancing and the masks don't really prevent it, what are you really doing? It's theater. Take the mask off already. You in this place with 1,000-foot ceilings. Why do you have your mask on? Why? Why are you still distancing? Why are you wearing 2 masks? Matter of fact, I saw Giuliani Reed say that she's jogging. That's from MS13DNC, an anchor over there. She said she jogs with 2 masks on. How are you going to jog with a mask on? How can you breathe? Matter of fact, hold on. Shout out to D-Bar. D-Bar sells 12 haters so far. ABL, you got to tighten up. You should have a lot more than that. And you're right about that. I need to tighten up. I need to get my haters up for sure. I need to get my haters up. All right, so I'm just watching this, see what they're going to do. It ain't nothing really going on right here. They're wearing the mask because it's theater. That's all. It's simply theater. Hold on, matter of fact, Pocahontas, of course, doing her thing. Yeah, the masks aren't needed. A lot of them are wearing them properly and everything else. So it's like, what's even the reason? Why do this? Oh yeah, the dislikes, the ratio was crazy. Look at this. Look at that right there. So they have 471 likes to 3,300 dislikes. 400, okay, they got 472 likes. 472 likes and 3,300 dislikes. So I'll add one more to the dislike column. This is on Fox News. This ain't even like MS13DNC where you would go to troll if you want to troll. All right, so we got some movement going on here. Who is that? Who is that? I ain't know who that was. I thought it was Adam Schiff. That's not Adam Schiff. But anyway, before we get to your man Joe, I'm gonna show you guys an example of how ridiculous all this stuff is. Let's go back here.
A moment of glory, overshadowed by this moment of concern. Williams finished in 2 minutes and 8 seconds, collapsing as she crossed the finish line.
I felt like I just wasn't being able to get a full breath, and multiple times of that happening.
So she was running on track and field. She was running with a mask on. How are you going to run track and field with a mask on, ma'am? You're outside. Why are you even doing this? Of course you can't breathe because you have a mask on. It's obstructing your breathing. This is so dumb. And this is the same thing they got going on here. Socially distant, still wearing the mask, although they all got the vaccine. That's supposed to work. They came out and said that it doesn't matter if you're 6 feet apart or 60 feet apart, it's still going to do the same thing. So what's the use? And if you got the vaccine, you get money. What are we doing? The ceilings in there are about 1,000 feet tall. It's like being outside anyway. Take your mask off.
being able to get enough air. I just felt super dizzy and then eventually
you don't say.
passed out.
Williams blames her lack of oxygen on the mask she's required to wear during competition.
Clearly in the past this has never happened, and then this race that I was wearing a mask, it did happen, which I don't think is a coincidence.
Her coach echoing that belief, saying this was not a conditioning issue, it was a mask issue.
It was a different response than I've seen for kids that have collapsed to the track just because they were exhausted. She wasn't sure where she was.
Couldn't breathe. All right, now they're bringing in your man, Joe. So let's go ahead and get to it. I thought he was coming in. I guess not. I'm not sure who that was that came in. Like a dramatic entrance. It's like, if you're not Joe, then why should I care?
Yeah. So,
and thank y'all for being here yet again. If you enjoy what you're hearing so far, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it if you did. These masks ain't that. Oh, there go her husband right there. That's Doug Emhoff. I'm not sure why her name is Harris and not Emhoff, but that's a different story. I digress. That's Doug Emhoff, the white man. That's her husband right there. Kamala Harris's husband, that is. Now, when they're going to bring out Joe Biden's home health nurse, wife, she may already be out there. Hey, she bit that dust though. That girl running track and field, she bit the dust. But it's like, hey, what's going to happen when you have a mask on when you're trying to run? What is the? Come on, that's very predictable.
Madam Speaker, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
Okay, let's get to it. Okay, you got John Roberts coming out. Okay, great. All right, cool. Exactly. Contra says, I like how people are moving around, chatting, but somehow, if they're distance, that's going to stop the spread. Right, they're moving from place to place. So if you're distance, why does it matter if you're moving? If you're, socializing and stuff like that, it's just so stupid. Like, they're not doing the things that they say that they should do. So now they're at 507 likes and 3,400 dislikes. So the likes and dislikes grow kind of proportionate to each other. CNN stream has 1.6 thousand likes and 5.6 thousand dislikes. Hilarious. Where's Big Mike? Hey, Big Mike, and Big Mike got to train for got to get that hot girl summer. You know what I'm talking about? She got to get them traps and all that kind of good stuff worked out. So, Big Mike doing her thing down there in Miami somewhere probably. Okay, so what's going on here? Oh, there go Joe's wife. Don't fall. Please don't fall. So here's a question. Is she going to be like the new Michelle Obama? Is that how they try to frame her? Are they trying to say that she's like better than Melania? It's like, let's just stop playing games. It's all political. At the end of the day, it's all political, everything. No fishnets. You remember that when Joe Biden's wife had on fishnets? It's like, ma'am, you're like 80 years old. What are we doing? This is not age appropriate here. You need to be wearing like muumuu type stuff, or it's like a little dress. Like what she had on right there, that was fine. But fishnets, like, are you trying to? Is this like Michael Jackson Thriller, 1984? Are we going back to that time or what? What's really happening here? The China bow? Hey, maybe so. I wouldn't doubt it. Maybe his wife did do the China bow because they feel like that's going to be the next king of the castle. So maybe she did do that. I wouldn't be surprised. Hey, the speech, I guarantee you, is going to be short. Okay, so who's this?
Madam Speaker, representatives of the President's Cabinet.
All right, man, look. Nobody got time for this part. Like, who cares? There go my man right there. Jax from Mortal Kombat. Let's just have everybody come in at once. President's Cabinet, White House workers. Have everybody come in and then get to the speech, and we can just go ahead and get through it. I'm ready for the cringe. Repster Inc. I'm ready for the cringe. Don't you worry about that part at all. Yeah, 10 minutes tops. I think that's probably going to be right. Your mom says here. That's a funny name, by the way. Okay, so they're not distancing at all. They kind of just understand what it is. They're just kind of chilling with each other. They got their mask on unnecessarily still because they probably already got the shot, but they're distanced. But they're not distant, so that's one step in the proper direction. And no problem, DJ Limo. No problem. It's all good. All right, we got T on deck. Thank you. Can you bring me a bottle of water? I forgot mine. Thank you. So we're just waiting on your man to come out. They got to roll him out from the basement. You already know what it is. They got him on cryo pause. So then they just unthaw him, and then they just will him up from the basement. They put him up in front of the little podium right there, right in the center, and they'll let him talk for, however long he has to talk, and then that'll be it. And they roll him right back into the chamber, freeze him back on up, and then move on with their whole situation. That'll be pretty much how it goes. Thank you, Diane Breed. I appreciate it, man. I'm trying to do it for y'all. I try to do it just for you guys. Hey, I ain't worried about views. I'm worried about just putting out something needs to get put out. Thank you.
Sorry to disappoint you this way.
Okay, just random guys. I think it's Jim Clyburn in the back.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Who are these people? I don't really know. This is basically, you know what they are. This is the swamp, basically. This is the swamp. Some of them are. That was Burgess Owens. Shout out to him. He's a good guy. Burgess Owens, Republican out there. I think he's in Utah. So you got a mix of people. All right, let's get the show on the road, shall we? I mean, really. How many times was they come into the place? Hey, I am X, Y, and Z person. I am this person. I am that person. Just bring the old man out. Let's get rocking.
Messed up the first time, made you do it again.
All right, so I put it on hold for a while until they get all these, 85-year-old people in the seats. I'm going to talk to the chat for a little bit. So we're just waiting on everybody to come in. And as soon as that happens, I guess they're going to bring out your man. Not sure where he is right now. It could be in the basement chilling. The creeps come out at night. There you go. I like that one, Redhead. That's right on it. Was that Bernie? I thought that was Bernie. So what are we to expect from the old man, says Rhea. Not Rhea, pardon me. Rachel. I don't know. That's a good question. Probably infrastructure, trying to frame stuff like, I don't know, childcare is infrastructure. I heard that he's going to say something about free childcare or free community college for illegal aliens. It's like, okay, you're talking about you want to solve the border crisis. You want to solve that, but you're going to do things that are going to be a magnet to them. How are you going to solve the crisis when that's the case? That does not make any sense. But that's what we may hear. We're going to hear some things that attract illegal aliens to the country. That's what I think we're going to see, for sure. When is the wait going to start? Hey, great question. Exactly. Yeah, put a teleprompter on and let us read it. Matter of fact, send me a PDF of the speech and just let me read it right there. I can read the PDF speech right now better than Creepy Joe would do. All right, put me in front of the lectern or the whatever you want to call that, and I'll read it. Matter of fact, I can read it from here and do a better job than Creepy Sleepy would do. All right, so we got more random people coming in. Okay, not Joe quite yet, just random people. Oh, there you go. There goes the old man. All right. Not that old man, but another one behind him.
Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
That was Eric Swalwell right there. That's their golden boy, Eric Swalwell. Thank you all for being here at the first annual Mothball Convention. I'm your host, ABL, and the speaker for tonight, the main guy, will be President, quote unquote, Joe Biden. Let's go ahead and get into it. In the background we have, is that Vindman?
How are you struck by the images that we see this evening?
That's not Vindman.
Well, it's an address to Congress.
What are we doing? What are they talking for? What's happening here?
I think you will hear Biden tonight make the case for how government has helped us start to beat COVID. We've seen
I don't want to hear harsh barf
in the arms of
right
Americans,
now.
And he's going to make the case the government can do more than that. It can rebuild our roads and bridges, and that's the case he's going to make tonight, John.
Oh, hang on here, Murray, for a second.
To present to you
why are you talking?
the President of the United States.
Prepared to start very soon. Guy, let's get a quick word in for you. We're seeing history there behind the president. The first female vice president, along with a female speaker.
Why are they talking?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good to be back. Mitch and Chuck will understand it's good to be almost home. Down the hall. Anyway, thank you all. Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President. No president has ever said those words from this podium. No president has ever said those words. And it's about time. First Lady, I'm her husband. Second Gentleman, Chief Justice, members of the United States Congress and the Cabinet, distinguished guests, my fellow Americans, while the setting tonight is familiar, this gathering is just a little bit different. A reminder of the extraordinary times we're in. Throughout our history, presidents have come to this chamber to speak to Congress, to the nation, and to the world, to declare war, to celebrate peace, to announce new plans and possibilities. Tonight, I come to talk about crisis and opportunity, about rebuilding the nation, revitalizing our democracy, and winning the future for America. I stand here tonight, one day shy of the 100th day of my administration. 100 days since I took the oath of office and lifted my hand off our family Bible and inherited a nation, we all did, that was in crisis. The worst pandemic in a century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Now, after just 100 days, I can report to the nation, America is on the move again. Turning
Look at Bernie,
peril
old
into
man.
possibility, crisis to opportunity, setbacks into strength. We all know life can knock us down, but in America, we never, ever, ever stay down. Americans always get up. Today, that's what we're doing. America's rising anew, choosing hope over fear, truth over lies, and light over darkness. After 100 days of rescue and renewal, America is ready for a takeoff, in my view. We're working again, dreaming again, discovering again, and leading the world again. We have shown each other and the world that there's no quit in America, none. 100 days ago, America's house was on fire. We had to act. And thanks to the extraordinary leadership of Speaker Pelosi, Majority Leader Schumer, and the overwhelming support of the American people, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, we did act. Together, we passed the American Rescue Plan, one of the most consequential rescue packages in American history. We're already seeing the results.
But inflation, that's the results, inflation.
We're already seeing the results. After I promised we'd get 100 million COVID-19 vaccine shots into people's arms in 100 days, we will have provided over 220 million COVID shots in those 100 days. Thanks to all the help of all of you. We're marshaling, with your help, everyone's help, we're marshaling every federal resource. We've gotten vaccines to nearly 40,000 pharmacies and over 700 community health centers where the poorest of the poor can be reached. We're setting up community vaccination sites, developing mobile units to get to hard-to-reach communities. Today, 90% of Americans now live within 5 miles of a vaccination site. Everyone over the age of 16, everyone is now eligible to get vaccinated right now, right away. Go get vaccinated, America.
No thanks.
Go and get the vaccination. They're available. You're eligible now. When I was sworn in on January 20th, less than 1% of the seniors in America were fully vaccinated against COVID-19. 100 days later, 70% of seniors in America over 65 are protected, fully protected. Senior deaths from COVID-19 are down 80% since January, down 80% because of all of you. And more than half of all the adults in America have gotten at least one shot. A mass vaccination center in Glendale, Arizona, I asked the nurse, I said, "What's it like?" She looked at me and she said, "It's like every shot is giving a dose of hope," was her phrase, a dose of hope. A dose of hope for an educator in Florida who has a child suffering from an autoimmune disease. Wrote to me, said she's worried, and she was worried about bringing the virus home. She said she then got vaccinated at a large site in her car. She said she sat in her car when she got vaccinated and just cried. Cried out of joy and cried out of relief. Parents, seeing the smiles on their kids' faces for those who are able to go back to school because the teachers and school bus drivers and cafeteria workers have been vaccinated. Grandparents, hugging their children and grandchildren instead of pressing hands against a window to say goodbye. It means everything. Those things mean everything. You know, there's still, you all know it, you know it better than any group of Americans, there's still more work to do to beat this virus. We can't let our guard down. But tonight, I can say, because of you, the American people, our progress these past 100 days against one of the worst pandemics in history has been one of the greatest logistical achievements this country's ever seen. What else have we done in those first 100 days? We kept our commitment, Democrats and Republicans, of sending $1,400 rescue checks to 85% of American households. We've already sent more than 160 million checks out the door. It's making a difference. You all know it when you go home. For many people, it's making all the difference in the world. The single mom in Texas who wrote me, she said she couldn't work, but she said the relief check put food on the table and saved her and her son from eviction from their apartment. A grandmother in Virginia who told me she immediately took her granddaughter to the eye doctor, something she said she put off for months because she didn't have the money. One of the defining images, at least from my perspective in this crisis, has been cars lined up for miles. And not people just barely able to start those cars, nice cars, lined up for miles, waiting for a box of food to be put in their trunk. I don't know about you, but I didn't ever think I'd see that in America. And all of this is through no fault of their own.
China.
No fault of their own.
Blame China.
These people are in this position. That's why the rescue plan is delivering food and nutrition assistance to millions of Americans facing hunger. And hunger's down sharply already. We're also providing rental assistance. You all know this, but the American people, I want to make sure they understand. Keeping people from being evicted from their homes. Providing loans to small businesses that reopen and keep their employees on the job. During these 100 days, an additional 800,000 Americans enrolled in the Affordable Care Act when I established a special sign-up period to do that. 800,000 in that period. We're making one of the largest one-time investments ever in improving health care for veterans. Critical investments to address the opioid crisis. And maybe most importantly, thanks to the American Rescue Plan, we're on track to cut child poverty in America in half this year.
Totally partisan.
And in the process, while this was all going on, the economy created more than 1,300,000 new jobs in 100 days. More jobs in the first 100 days than any president on record. The International Monetary Fund is now estimating our economy will grow at a rate of more than 6% this year. That will be the fastest pace of economic growth in this country in nearly 4 decades. America's moving forward, but we can't stop now. We're in competition with China and other countries to win the 21st century. We're at a great inflection point in history. We have to do more than just build back better. We have to build back better. We have to compete more strenuously than we have. Throughout our history, if you think about it, public investment in infrastructure has literally transformed America, our attitudes as well as our opportunities. The Transcontinental Railroad, the interstate highways, united 2 oceans and brought a totally new age of progress to the United States of America. Universal public schools and college aid opened wide the doors of opportunity. Scientific breakthroughs took us to the moon. Now we're on Mars, discovering vaccines, gave us the internet, and so much more. These are investments we made together as one country, and investments that only the government was in a position to make. Time and again, they propel us into the future. That's why I propose the American Jobs Plan.
Here we go.
A once-in-a-generation investment in America itself. This is the largest jobs plan since World War II.
Nope.
Creates jobs
Nope.
to upgrade our transportation infrastructure. Jobs modernizing our roads, bridges, highways. Jobs building ports and airports, rail corridors, transit lines. It's clean water. And today, up to 10 million homes in America and more than 400,000 schools and child care centers have pipes with lead in them, including drinking water. A clear and present danger to our children's health. American Jobs Plan creates jobs replacing 100% of the nation's lead pipes and service lines, so every American can drink clean water. And in the process, it will create thousands and thousands of good-paying jobs. It creates jobs connecting every American with high-speed internet, including 35% of the rural America that still doesn't have it. This is going to help our kids and our businesses succeed in the 21st century economy. And I'm asking the Vice President to lead this effort, if she would, because I know it will get done. Creates jobs building a modern power grid.
Here we go.
Our grids are vulnerable to storms, hacks, catastrophic failures with tragic results, as we saw in Texas and elsewhere during the winter storms. The American Jobs Plan will create jobs that lay thousands of miles of transmission lines needed to build a resilient and fully clean grid. We can do that.
I don't know, buddy.
The American Jobs Plan will help millions of people get back to their jobs and back to their careers. 2 million women have dropped out of the workforce during this pandemic. 2 million. And too often because they couldn't get the care they needed to care for their child or care for an elderly parent who needs help. 800,000 families are on the Medicare waiting list right now to get home care for their aging parent or loved one with disability. If you think it's not important, check out in your own district, Democrat or Republican. Democrat or Republican voters. Their great concern, almost as much as their children, is taking care of an elderly loved one who can't be left alone. Medicaid contemplated it, but this plan is going to help those families and create jobs for our caregivers with better wages and better benefits, continuing a cycle of growth. For too long, we've failed to use the most important word when it comes to meeting the climate crisis: jobs. 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 For me, when I think climate change, I think jobs. American Jobs Plan will put engineers and construction workers to work building more energy-efficient buildings and homes. Electrical workers, ABL members installing 500,000 charging stations along our highways so we can own the electric car market. Farmers planting cover crops so they can reduce the carbon dioxide in the air and get paid for doing it. Look, think about it. There is simply no reason why the blades for wind turbines can't be built in Pittsburgh instead of Beijing. No reason.
Really? Now you make it in America? Is that what we're going to do?
No
Stop.
reason. So, folks, there's no reason why American workers can't lead the world in the production of electric vehicles and batteries. I mean, there is no reason. We have the capacity. We're the brightest, best trained people in the world. The American Jobs Plan is going to create millions of good-paying jobs, jobs Americans can raise a family on. As my dad would then say, with a little breathing room. And all the investments in the American Job Plan will be guided by one principle: buy American. Buy American. And I might note parenthetically, that does not violate any trade agreement. It's been the law since the 30s. Buy American. American tax dollars are going to be used to buy American products made in America to create American jobs. That's the way it's supposed to be, and it will be in this administration. And I've made it clear to all my cabinet people, their ability to give exemptions has been strenuously limited.
It's what?
It will be American products. Now, I know some of you at home are wondering whether these jobs are for you. So many of you, so many of the folks I grew up with, feel left behind, forgotten, in an economy that's so rapidly changing. It's frightening. I want to speak directly to you, because you think about it. That's what people are most worried about. Can I fit in? Independent experts estimate the American Jobs Plan will add millions of jobs and trillions of dollars to economic growth in the years to come. It is an 8-year program. These are good-paying jobs that can't be outsourced. Nearly 90% of the infrastructure jobs created in the American Jobs Plan do not require a college degree. 75% don't require an associate's degree. The American Jobs Plan is a blue-collar blueprint to build America. That's what it is.
Keystone XL, how about that?
No? It recognizes something I've always said in this chamber and the other. Good guys and women on Wall Street, but Wall Street didn't build this country. The middle class built the country, and unions built the middle class. So that's why I'm calling on Congress to pass Protect the Right to Organize Act, the PRO Act, and send it to my desk so we can support the right to unionize. And by the way, while you're thinking about sending things to my desk, let's raise the minimum wage to $15.
Nope.
No one Nope. 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 No one working 40 hours a week. No one working 40 hours a week should live below the poverty line.
Stop the nonsense.
We need to ensure greater equity and opportunity for women. And while we're doing this, let's get the Paycheck Fairness Act to my desk as well. Equal pay. It's been much too long. And if you wonder whether it's too long, look behind me. And finally, American Jobs Plan will be the biggest increase in non-defense research and development on record. We'll see more technological change. And some of you know more about this than I do. We'll see more technological change in the next 10 years than we saw in the last 50. That's how rapidly artificial intelligence and so much more is changing. And we're falling behind the competition with the rest of the world. Decades ago, we used to invest 2% of our gross domestic product in America, 2% of our gross domestic product in research and development. Today, Mr. Secretary, that's less than 1%. China and other countries are closing in fast. We have to develop and dominate the products and technologies of the future. Advanced batteries, biotechnology, computer chips, clean energy. The Secretary of Defense can tell you, and those of you who work in national security issues know, the Defense Department has an agency called DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. The people who set up before I came here, and that's been a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
To develop breakthroughs that enhance our national security. That's their only job. And it's a semi-separate agency. It's under the Defense Department. It's led to everything from the discovery of the internet to GPS and so much more that's enhanced our security. The National Institute of Health, the NIH, I believe, should create a similar advanced research projects agency for health. And here's what it would do. It would have a singular purpose: to develop breakthroughs to prevent, detect, and treat diseases like Alzheimer's, diabetes, and cancer. I'll still never forget when we passed the cancer proposal in the last year I was vice president. Almost $9 million going to NIH. And if you excuse the point of personal privilege, I'll never forget you standing, Mitch, and saying, "Name it after my deceased son." It meant a lot.
So sad.
But so many of us have deceased sons, daughters, and relatives who died of cancer. I can think of no more worthy investment. I know of nothing that is more bipartisan. So let's end cancer as we know it. It's within our power. It's within our power to do it. Investments in jobs and infrastructure like the ones we're talking about have often had bipartisan support in the past. Vice President Harris and I met regularly in the Oval Office with Democrats and Republicans and discussed the jobs plan. And I applaud a group of Republican senators who just put forward their own proposal. So let's get to work. I wanted to lay out before the Congress my plan before we got into the deep discussions. I'd like to meet with those who have ideas that are different, they think are better. I welcome those ideas. But the rest of the world is not waiting for us. I just want to be clear. From my perspective, doing nothing is not an option. Look, we can't be so busy competing with one another that we forget the competition that we have with the rest of the world to win the 21st century. Secretary Blinken can tell you I spent a lot of time with President Xi.
Blinken, the guy that got
Traveled over
embarrassed.
17,000 miles with him. Spent, they tell me, over 24 hours in private discussions with him. When he called to congratulate him, we had a 2-hour discussion. He's deadly earnest about becoming the most significant, consequential nation in the world. He and others, autocrats, think that democracy can't compete in the 21st century with autocracies because it takes too long to get consensus. To win that competition for the future, in my view, we also need to make a once-in-a-generation investment in our families and our children. That's why I've introduced the American Families Plan tonight, which addresses 4 of the biggest challenges facing American families and, in turn, America. First is access to good education. When this nation made 12 years of public education universal in the last century, it made us the best educated, best prepared nation in the world. It's, I believe, the overwhelming reason that propelled us to where we got.
How's it going right now?
In the 20th century.
How's it working out right now?
The world's caught up or catching up. They're not waiting. I would say parenthetically, if we were sitting down, we set a bipartisan committee together and said, okay, we're going to decide what we do in terms of government providing for free education. I wonder whether we'd think, as we did in the 20th century, that 12 years is enough in the 21st century. I doubt it. 12 years is no longer enough today to compete with the rest of the world in the 21st century.
13, 14, 15th grade.
That's why my American Families Plan guarantees 4 additional years of public education for every person in America, starting as early as we can. The great universities in this country have conducted studies of the last 10 years. It shows that adding 2 years of universal high-quality preschool for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old, no matter what background they come from, puts them in the position to be able to compete all the way through 12 years and increases exponentially their prospect of graduating and going on beyond graduation. The research shows when a young child goes to school, not daycare, they're far more likely to graduate from high school and go to college or something after high school. When you add 2 years of free community college on top of that, you begin to change the dynamic. We can do that. And we'll increase Pell Grants and invest in historical black colleges and universities, tribal colleges, minority-serving institutions. The reason is they don't have the endowments. But their students are just as capable of learning about cybersecurity, just as capable of learning about metallurgy, all the things that are going on that provide those jobs of the future. Jill is a community college professor who teaches today as First Lady. She's long said, if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Joe, any country that out-educates us is going to out-compete us. She'll be deeply involved in leading this effort. Thank you, Jill. Second thing we need, American Families Plan will provide access to quality, affordable child care. We guarantee what I'm proposing in legislation, we guarantee that low and middle income families will pay no more than 7% of their income for high-quality care for children up to the age of 5. The most hard-pressed working families won't have to spend a dime. Third, the American Families Plan will finally provide up to 12 weeks of paid leave and medical leave, family medical leave. We're one of the few industrial countries in the world.
Big money spending. How you gonna pay for it?
No one should have to choose between a job and a paycheck, or taking care of themselves and their loved ones, or parent or spouse or child. And fourth, the American Family Plan puts directly into the pockets of millions of Americans. In March, we expanded tax credit for every child in a family, up to $3,000 per child if you're under 6 years of age. Over 6 years of age, and $3,600 for children over 6 years of age. With 2 parents, 2 kids, that's $7,200 in the pockets that are going to help take care of your family.
Where the money come from?
That will help more than 65 million children and help cut child care poverty in half. And we can afford it. So we did that in the last piece of legislation we passed. But let's extend that child care tax credit at least through the end of 2025. The American Rescue Plan lowered health care premiums for 9 million Americans who buy their coverage under the Affordable Care Act. I know that's really popular this side of the aisle. But let's make that provision permanent so their premiums don't go back up. In addition to my family's plan, I'm going to work with Congress to address this year other critical priorities for American families. The Affordable Care Act has been a lifeline for millions of Americans, protecting people with pre-existing conditions, protecting women's health, and the pandemic has demonstrated how badly it's needed. Let's lower deductibles for working families on the Affordable Care Act. And let's lower prescription drug costs. We know how to do this. The last president had that as an objective. We all know how outrageously expensive drugs are in America. In fact, we pay the highest prescription drug prices of anywhere in the world, right here in America. Nearly 3 times for the same drug, nearly 3 times what other countries pay. We have to change that, and we can. Let's do what we talked about for all the years I was down here in this body, in Congress. Let's give Medicare the power to save hundreds of billions of dollars by negotiating lower drug prescription prices. And by the way, it won't just help people on Medicare. Lower prescription drug costs for everyone. And the money we save, which is billions of dollars, can go to strengthen the Affordable Care Act and expand Medicare coverage benefits without costing taxpayers an additional penny.
Right, okay.
It's within our power to do it. Let's do it now.
Right. Big promises, but no real way to be able to pay for it, from what I've been able to see.
We've talked about it long enough, Democrats and Republicans. Let's get it done this year. This is all about a simple premise. Health care should be a right, not a privilege in America. So, how do we pay for my jobs and family plan? I made it clear we can do it without increasing the deficits. Let's start with what I will not do. I will not impose any tax increase on people making less than $400,000. But it's time for corporate America and the wealthiest 1% of Americans to just begin to pay their fair share. Just their fair share.
What does a fair share mean? How much is that really? What if they don't want to pay and they leave the country and now the money's gone altogether?
Sometimes I have arguments with my friends in the Democratic Party. I think you should be able to become a billionaire and a millionaire, but pay your fair share. Recent study shows that 55 of the nation's biggest corporations paid 0 federal tax last year. Those 55 corporations made in excess of $40 billion in profit. A lot of companies also evade taxes through tax havens in Switzerland and Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. And they benefit from tax loopholes and deductions for offshoring jobs and shifting profits overseas. It's not right. We're going to reform corporate taxes so they pay their fair share and help pay for the public investments their businesses will benefit from as well. We're going to reward work, not just wealth. We take the top tax bracket for the wealthiest 1% of Americans, those making over $400,000 or more, back up to where it was when George W. Bush was president, when he started, 39.6%. That's where it was when George W. was president. We're going to get rid of the loopholes, allow Americans to make more than $1 million a year and pay a lower tax rate on their capital gains than Americans who receive a paycheck. We're only going to affect 0.3% of all Americans by that action. 0.3%.
That's not genuine.
And the IRS is going to crack down on millionaires and billionaires who cheat on their taxes.
Ain't nobody cheating. Just want to pay much
It's
money.
estimated to be billions of dollars by think tanks that are left, right, and center. I'm not looking to punish anybody. But I will not add a tax burden, additional tax burden to the middle class in this country. They're already paying enough. I believe what I propose is fair, fiscally responsible, and it raises revenue to pay for the plans I propose and will create millions of jobs that will grow the economy and enhance our financial standing in the country. When you hear someone say, they don't want to raise taxes on the wealthiest 1% or corporate America, ask them, whose taxes you want to raise? Instead, whose are going to cut? Look, the big tax cut of 2017. Remember, it was supposed to pay for itself. That was how it was sold. And generate vast economic growth. Instead, it added $2 trillion to the deficit. It was a huge windfall for corporate America and those at the very top. Instead of using the tax saving to raise wages and invest in research and development, it poured billions of dollars into the pockets of CEOs. In fact, the pay gap between CEOs and their workers is now among the largest in history. According to one study, CEOs make 320 times what the average worker in their corporation makes. It used to be below 100. The pandemic has only made things worse. 20 million Americans lost their job in the pandemic, working and middle-class Americans. At the same time, roughly 650 billionaires in America saw their net worth increase by more than $1 trillion in the same exact period. Let me say it again. 650 people increased their wealth by more than $1 trillion during this pandemic. And they're now worth more than $4 trillion.
You want it back?
My fellow Americans.
It's not yours.
Trickle down. Trickle down economics has never worked. And it's time to grow the economy from the bottom and the middle out.
So rather than trickle down, you want to get a strong arm robbery. Rather than me spending it, you want to take it and then you spend it. It's the same thing, and it trickle down. But it ain't that way when you spend it, like when you take it from me. I get it.
There's a broad consensus of economists left, right, and center, and they agree what I'm proposing will help create millions of jobs and generate historic economic growth. These are among the highest values investments we can make as a nation. I've often said our greatest strength is the power of our example, not just the example of our power. In my conversations with world leaders, and I've spoken to over 38, 40 of them now, I've made it known that America's back. And you know what they say? The comment I hear most of all from them? So they say, we see America's back, but for how long? But for how long? My fellow Americans, we have to show not just that we're back, but that we're back to stay, and that we aren't going to go it alone. We're going to do it by leading with our allies. No one nation can deal with all the crises of our time, from terrorism to nuclear proliferation, mass migration, cybersecurity, climate change, as well as experiencing what we're experiencing now, the pandemics. There's no wall high enough to keep any virus out. And our own vaccine supply, as it grows to meet our needs, and we're meeting them, will become an arsenal for vaccines for other countries, just as America was an arsenal for democracy for the world, and in consequence influence the world. But every American will have access before that occurs. Every American will have access to be fully covered by COVID-19 from the vaccines we have. Look, the climate crisis is not our fight alone, it's a global fight. The United States accounts, as all of you know, less than 15% of carbon emissions. The rest of the world accounts for 85%. That's why I kept my commitment to rejoin the Paris Accord, because if we do everything perfectly, it's not going to only matter. I kept my commitment to convene a climate summit right here in America with all the major economies of the world: China, Russia, India, European Union. And I said I'd do it in my first 100 days. I want to be very blunt about it. My attempt was to make sure that the world could see there was a consensus, that we are at an inflection point in history. The consensus is, if we act to save the planet, we can create millions of jobs and economic growth and opportunity to raise the standard of living of almost everyone around the world. If you watched any of it and you were all busy, I'm sure you didn't have much time. That's what virtually every nation said, even the ones that aren't doing their fair share. The investments I proposed tonight also advance the foreign policy, in my view, that benefits the middle class. That means making sure every nation plays by the same rules in the global economy, including China. In my discussion with President Xi, I told him, we welcome the competition. We're not looking for conflict. But I made absolutely clear that we will defend America's interest across the board. America will stand up to unfair trade practices that undercut American workers and American industries, like subsidies from state to state-owned operations and enterprises, and the theft of American technology and intellectual property.
What are you going to do about it?
I also told President Xi that we'll maintain a strong military presence in the Indo-Pacific, just as we do with NATO and Europe. Not to start a conflict, but to prevent one. I told them what I said to many world leaders, that America will not back away from our commitments, our commitment to human rights and fundamental freedoms, and to our alliances. And I pointed out to him, no responsible American president could remain silent when basic human rights are being so blatantly violated. An American president has to represent the essence of what our country stands for. America is an idea, the most unique idea in history. We are created, all of us, equal. It's who we are. And we cannot walk away from that principle and, in fact, say we're dealing with the American idea. With regard to Russia, I know it concerns some of you, but I made very clear to Putin that we're not going to seek escalation, but their actions will have consequences. They turn out to be true, and they turned out to be true. So I responded directly and proportionately. to Russia's interference in our elections and the cyber attacks on our government and our business. They did both of these things, and I told them we would respond, and we have. But we can also cooperate when it's our mutual interest. We did it when we extended the New START Treaty on nuclear arms, and we're working to do it on climate change. But he understands we will respond. On Iran and North Korea, nuclear programs that present serious threats to American security and the security of the world. We're going to be working closely with our allies to address the threats posed by both of these countries through diplomacy as well as stern deterrence. And American leadership means ending the forever war in Afghanistan. We have...
We'll see about that.
We have, without hyperbole, the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. I'm the first president in 40 years who knows what it means to have a son serving in a war zone. Today, we have service members serving in the same war zone as their parents did. We have service members in Afghanistan who are not yet born on 9/11. The war in Afghanistan, as we remember the debates here, were never meant to be multi-generational undertakings of nation building. We went to Afghanistan to get the terrorists who attacked us on 9/11. And we said we would follow Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell to do it. If you've been in the upper Konar Valley, you've kind of seen the gates of hell. And we delivered justice to bin Laden. We degraded the terrorist threat of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. And after 20 years of valor, and sacrifice, it's time to bring those troops home.
Great value, President.
Look, even as we do, we'll maintain over-the-horizon capacity to suppress future threats to the homeland. And make no mistake, in 20 years, terrorism has metastasized. The threat has evolved way beyond Afghanistan. Those of you in the intelligence committees, the foreign relations committee, defense committees, you know well, we have to remain vigilant against the threats to the United States wherever they come from. Al-Qaeda and ISIS are in Yemen, Syria, Somalia, other places in Africa, in the Middle East, and beyond. And we won't ignore what our intelligence agencies have determined to be the most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today. White supremacy is terrorism. We're not going to ignore that either.
Wait, that was a hard shift.
My fellow Americans, look, we have to come together to heal the soul of this nation. It was nearly a year ago before her father's funeral when I spoke with Gianna Floyd, George Floyd's young daughter.
Here we go.
She's a little tyke, so I was kneeling down to talk to her so I could look her in the eye. She looked at me, she said, "My daddy changed the world."
Really? Did she say that for real?
Well,
come on.
After the conviction of George Floyd's murderer, we can see how right she was if we have the courage to act as a Congress. We've all seen the knee of injustice on the neck of Black Americans. Now's our opportunity to make some real progress. The vast majority of men and women wearing a uniform and a badge serve our communities, and they serve them honorably. I know them. I know they want...
All over the place. From Yemen to white supremacy to, what was his, police, military. So, police reform right here. Let's see what he's going to do.
I know they want to help meet this moment as well. My fellow Americans, we have to come together to rebuild trust between law enforcement and the people they serve.
No, we
don't. To root
don't.
out systemic racism in our criminal justice system. And to enact police reform in George Floyd's name. That passed the House already. I know Republicans have their own ideas and are engaged in a very productive discussions with Democrats in the Senate. We need to work together to find a consensus. But let's get it done next month, by the first anniversary of George Floyd's death. supports this reform, and Congress should act.
Who's the country?
Should act.
Not me.
We have a giant opportunity to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice, real justice. And with the plans outlined tonight, we have a real chance to root out systemic racism that plagues America and American lives in other ways. A chance to deliver real equity, good jobs, good schools, affordable housing, clean air, clean water, being able to generate wealth and pass it down to generations because you have access to purchase a house. Real opportunities in the lives of more Americans, black, white, Latino, Asian Americans, Native Americans. Look, I also want to thank the United States Senate for voting 94-1 to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act to protect Asian American and Pacific Islanders.
COVID-19 hate crimes. Is that really a thing?
Decisively. You can see on television the viciousness of the hate crimes we've seen over the past year and for too long. I urge the House to do the same and send that legislation to my desk, which I will gladly, anxiously sign. I also hope Congress will get to my desk the Equality Act to protect LGBTQ Americans.
What do they need for protection?
Transgender Americans watching at home, especially young people.
What do they need?
You're so brave. I want you to know your president has your back. Another thing, let's authorize the Violence Against Women Act, which has been law for 27 years. "27 years ago, I wrote it. It'll close the act that has to be authorized now. Will close the boyfriend loophole. To keep guns out of the hands of abusers. The court order said this is an abuser.
I see.
You can't own a gun. It's to close that loophole that existed. You know, it's estimated that
gun control.
50 women are shot and killed by an intimate partner every month in America. 50 a month. Let's pass it and save some lives. And I need not tell anyone this, but gun violence has become an epidemic in America. The flag at the White House was still flying at half-mast for the 8 victims of the mass shooting in Georgia, when 10 more lives were taken in a mass shooting in Colorado. And in the week in between those two events, 250 other Americans were shot dead in the streets of America. 250 shot dead. I know how hard it is to make progress on this issue. In the 90s, we passed universal background checks, a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines that hold 100 rounds that can be fired off in seconds. We beat the NRA. Mass shootings and gun violence declined. Check out the report over 10 years. But in the early 2000s, the law expired. We've seen daily bloodshed since. I'm not saying if the law continued, we wouldn't see bloodshed. More than 2 weeks ago in the Rose Garden, surrounded by some of the bravest people I know, the survivors and families who lost loved ones to gun violence, I laid out several of the Department of Justice actions that are being taken to impact on this epidemic. One of them is banning so-called ghost guns. These are homemade guns built from a kit that includes directions how to finish the firearm.
Oh, here we go.
The parts have no serial numbers, so they show up at crime scenes and they can't be traced. The buyers of these ghost gun kits aren't required to pass any background check. Anyone, from a criminal or terrorist, could buy this kit and within 30 minutes have a weapon that's lethal.
That's not really. That's not what happens at all. 30 minutes? No.
And I'll do everything in my power to protect the American people from this epidemic of gun violence, but it's time for Congress to act as well. Look, I don't want want to become confrontational, but we need more Senate Republicans to join the overwhelming majority of Democratic colleagues and close the loopholes required in background check purchases of guns. We need a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
No.
And don't tell me it can't be done. We did it before and it worked.
Nope.
Talk to most responsible gun owners and hunters.
Nope.
They'll tell you there's no possible justification for having 100 rounds.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
What do you think, deer wearing Kevlar vests? They'll tell you that there are too many people today who are able to buy a gun but shouldn't be able to buy a gun. These kinds of reasonable reforms have overwhelming support from the American people, including many gun owners. The country supports reform, and Congress should act. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue. And no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. From the very beginning, there were certain guns, weapons, that could not be owned by Americans. Certain people could not own those weapons ever. We're not changing the Constitution. We're being reasonable. I think this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. I think it's an American issue. And here's what else we can do. Immigration has always been essential to America. Let's end our exhausting war over immigration. For more than 30 years, politicians have talked about immigration reform, and we've done nothing about it. It's time to fix it. On day one of my presidency, I kept my commitment and sent a comprehensive immigration bill to the United States Congress. If you believe we need to secure the border, pass it, because it has a lot of money for high-tech border security. If you believe in a pathway to citizenship, pass it. There's over 11 million undocumented folks, the vast majority of here overstaying visas.
30 million. 30 million.
Pass it.
Build a wall.
If you actually want to solve a problem, I've sent a bill to take a close look at it. We also have to get at the root problem of why people are fleeing, particularly to our southern border from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The violence, the corruption, the gangs, the political instability, hunger, hurricanes, earthquakes, natural disasters. When I was president, when I was vice president, the president asked me to focus on providing help needed to address the root causes of migration. And it helped keep people in their own countries instead of being forced to leave. The plan was working, but the last administration decided it was not worth it. I'm restoring the program and asked Vice President Harris to lead our diplomatic effort to take care of this. I have absolute confidence she'll get the job done. Now look, if you don't like my plan, let's at least pass what we all agree on. Congress needs to pass legislation this year to finally secure protection for dreamers. The young people who've only known America as their home. And permanent protection for immigrants who are here on temporary protective status who came from countries beset by man-made and natural-made violence and disaster. As well as a pathway to citizenship for farm workers who put food on our tables. Look, immigrants have done so much for America during this pandemic and throughout our history. The country supports immigration reform. We should act. Let's argue over it. Let's debate it. But let's act. And if we truly want to restore the soul of America, we need to protect the sacred right to vote. Most people.
You protect it with security measures, like having an ID, things of that nature. That makes the most sense, don't it?
More people voted in the last presidential election than any time in American history. In the middle of the worst pandemic ever. It should be celebrated. Instead, it's being attacked. Congress should pass H.R. 1 and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and send it to my desk right away. The country supports it, and Congress should act now. Look, in conclusion, as we gather here tonight, The image of a violent mob assaulting this Capitol, desecrating our democracy, remain vivid in all our minds. Lives were put at risk, many of your lives. Lives were lost. Extraordinary courage was summoned. The insurrection was an existential crisis, a test of whether our democracy could survive, and it did. But the struggle is far from over. The question of whether our democracy will long endure is both ancient and urgent. As old as our republic, still vital today. Can our democracy deliver on its promise that all of us, created equal in the image of God, had a chance to lead lives of dignity, respect, and possibility? Can our democracy deliver to the most pressing needs of our people? Can our democracy overcome the lies, anger, hate, and fears that have pulled us apart? America's adversaries, the autocrats of the world, are betting we can't. And I promise you they're betting we can't. They believe we're too full of anger and division and rage. They look at the images of the mob that assaulted the Capitol as proof that the sun is setting on American democracy. But they're wrong. You know it, I know it. But we have to prove them wrong. We have to prove democracy still works, that our government still works, and we can deliver for our people. In our first 100 days together, we've acted to restore people's faith in democracy to deliver. We're vaccinating the nation. We're creating hundreds of thousands of new jobs. We're delivering real results to people. They can see it, feel it in their own lives. Opening doors of opportunity, guaranteeing some more fairness and justice. That's the essence of America. That's democracy in action. Our Constitution opens with the words, as trite as it sounds, we the people. Well, it's time to remember that we the people are the government. You and I. Not some force in a distant capital. Not some powerful force that we have no control over. It's us. It's we the people. In another era, when our democracy was tested, Franklin Roosevelt reminded us, in America, we do our part. We all do our part. That's all I'm asking. That we do our part, all of us. And if we do that, we will meet the center challenge of the age by proving that democracy is durable and strong. Autocrats will not win the future. We will. America will. And the future belongs to America. As I stand here tonight before you in a new and vital hour of life and democracy of our nation, and I can say with absolute confidence, I have never been more confident or optimistic about America. Not because I'm president, because of what's happening with the American people. We've stared into the abyss of insurrection and autocracy, pandemic and pain, and we, the people, did not flinch. At the very moment our adversaries were certain we'd pull apart and fail, we came together, we united. With light and hope, we summoned a new strength, new resolve to position us to win the competition of the 21st century. On our way to a union more perfect, more prosperous, and more just, as one people, one nation, and one America. Folks, as I told every world leader I've ever met with over the years, it's never, ever, ever been a good bet to bet against America, and it still isn't. We're the United States of America. There's not a single thing, nothing beyond our capacity. We can do whatever we set our minds to if we do it together. So let's begin to get together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for your patience.
I'm tripping. My mic wasn't on the whole time, so you guys couldn't hear me. Yeah, that was pretty partisan. Not a whole lot going on there. Yeah. So that was longer than I expected. I thought it would go for about a half hour, but it was really about an hour. I turned that sound off. I had the wrong thing turned off. I think that sound is off, but my sound was off, but now we back on. Anyway, longer than I expected, but a bunch of liberal nonsense, very partisan. Only one side of the aisle stood up for most of the time. And yeah, you're pretty much going to expect more of this as you go through his presidency. A lot of stuff that he's proposing that I'm not really sure how he's going to pay for. Okay, you're talking about, I think he said 4 extra years of public education, which means 4 more years of indoctrination by the state, if you live in a state that's like that, especially, and 4 more years where you have government control. And my thing would be, would it be compulsory? Would you have to go? So if you have, because the way it is now, you have to attend the K through 12 one way or another, whether it be homeschool, charter, private, public, you have to attend, if I'm not mistaken. So are they going to require you to do the 2 years prior to going through K through 12? Like, how is that going to work? So they're going to offer 2 years of pre-K and then 2 more years of college. It ain't going to be nothing but, just the after 12th grade would be 13th and 14th grades. That's basically what it is. All right. That's the kind of education you're going to get, because the way it is right now, the system is not necessarily great. Public school education, I mean, what's the point of having 2 more years in Baltimore, right, when you cannot read after grade 12? What's the point? If you have a 0.13 or whatever GPA that was, and get middle of the pack in Baltimore, what's the point of going to 2 more years? Go ahead and leave right now. Why pay for that? What's the reason? Okay, and why can't you go to a private preschool? When I was a little boy in Portsmouth, Virginia, in the hood, I went to a Christian preschool. When I was a little kid, went to a Christian preschool. My parents were able to pay for it, even going through the turmoil of divorce and stuff like that. We come from West Virginia, but not a whole lot of money. My mom was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and my dad worked at a hardware store. So how hard is that? Okay, a Christian preschool in the hood, and it was a good school. I learned my grace and learned how to, put my little shirt on, my suit, all that. I'm going to find that picture, too. That's a nice little picture of me when I was in the preschool. But anyway, why can't we do things like that? Why do we have to rely upon the state for this? And how much is it going to cost? Because I'm hearing a bunch of grandiose things, grandiose visions, but I'm not really hearing about how we're going to pay for it at all. So yeah, a lot of communism, a lot of woke stuff. It was crazy when he went from talking about Yemen to white supremacy. I'm not sure how he made that leap, but somehow he made the leap. Okay, he most certainly did that. Oh yeah, trade schools are most certainly better. We need to go back to more privatization of education rather than the public education. He's going in the wrong direction. A lot of people are trying to go homeschool, charter, private. Public school's not working out very well in a lot of cases. Like I said, you got kids are in the middle of the pack in their graduating class with a grade point average that is 0 point something. A 0 point X, Y, and Z. Anything below 1, I mean, how can you have such a low grade point average in a school like that in the ghetto where you probably have already very low standards? How can that be the case? So, yeah, there's no reason for much of this. Let me see. Thank you, Chevy. I try to do my thing here. Most certainly try to do my thing. So that's pretty much what that is. Somebody says high school isn't needed. We all have a 6th grade education by the time we graduate. Yeah, pretty much. The best thing I got from high school, really, the best thing I got from high school was, I would say what can I say? The best thing I got was just the friends, people I met, being able to socialize with people, meeting new people. That's really what it was. Same thing with college, networking, meeting people. That's really the long. But if you're trying to be like, a lawyer or a doctor or something like that, I can see it. But I know guys that have gotten a GED, left high school, got a GED, went to college, and became successful. So how important is high school education really? K through 12 is a failing system. So what's the point in adding on to it? You need to reform that. You're talking about police reform. How about we, so we got Republicans coming up. Okay, let's not hear so I guess the Republicans are going to respond. As soon as they drop in, I'm going to go to that. I had no idea this was happening, so I'll stay here for that. But yeah, rather than trying to reform the police, how about we reform, K through 12? That'll probably be the best thing to do. Hold on. Matter of fact, it might be on a different channel. Let's go to C-SPAN right quick and see if they're playing it. Okay, let's go. Not quite. I'm just seeing the same old stuff over there. So I got C-SPAN going, and I have C-SPAN going, and I have Fox. So if they switch to the Republican address, you guys let me know, and I'll be right on it. I will be right on it. There's some lady had Trump coming on. Hey, we'll see about that. We shall see about that one. So it's going to be Tim Scott. Yeah, he's going to deliver GOP response to Biden's address, and I'll be here for that. So Tim Scott's coming up next. Y'all just hang tight for that. I like Tim Scott, but I don't think the police reform is the thing that we need. Aside from that, I'm in Tim Scott's corner 100% of the time. I wish I was able to meet him and just pick his brain and talk to him for a minute. I feel like we got some of the ways that we came up. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Tim Scott, but the police reform, hopefully he does not talk about the police reform thing. That's just my humble opinion. Maybe you guys think I'm wrong about that, but that's just how I look at it. All right. We the puppets. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. He wasn't coherent. You weren't listening. Well, I mean, I won't say that he did a good job. I didn't say all that. So I'm not really sure where that's coming from. Maybe that wasn't for me. I would say that he went longer than I thought he was going to go. But yeah, I don't think he was coherent. I don't think that he, did a great job speaking. I don't think that's really the case. But I was able to hear some of the things that he was saying, and a lot of the things that he was saying I disagree with. I could disagree with what he's saying and, kind of cut through the mistakes in how he's speaking. You see what I'm saying? Because that's clear. Everybody knows that he's not necessarily a great speaker. That's big time facts. But the things that he was saying that I was able to understand were not very good. But again, we're looking to, I must have missed the part where he said no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. Oh yeah, no, yeah, okay. What he said before about no amendment to the Constitution being absolute, that's what he said before. Then during this speech, he said, we're not changing the Constitution, we're being reasonable. So what's that mean? Ain't that the same thing? We're not changing it. We're just doing a few little modifications. We're not changing it. We're doing some alterations, basically. That's kind of what's going on with that. Now, who is this lady right here? Is this a biological? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? Is she gigantic or is she short? Like, what's happening? Or is is she on a step or something like that? That's what it appears like. Yeah, she probably like on an elevated thing. That's probably what's going on with that. This is on C-SPAN. Yeah, so she's like on an elevated thing. Okay, that's what I thought. I'm like, am I seeing a giant? Like, what's happening? But they're just on an elevated platform. They're like in the little church pew type things. He's like in the center aisle. So that's what's going on with that. They keep trying to talk to this man. He's ready to go to bed right now. He's ready to get that applesauce. He's ready to get that nice bit of warm milk and take it on down. Go back to the crowd chamber and get ready for the next morning's feeding. That's what's going on with that. So this is C-SPAN footage. And again, we're waiting on Tim Scott to give the Republican address to the nation. The rebuttal to what Joe Biden said. Now, like I said, I'm a big Tim Scott fan. I don't believe in the police brutality thing that he talks about or the police quote unquote reform. That's not my wave. But I anticipate him doing a very good job on the address to Biden. It's weird because a lot of times when they're sitting there talking, they got this dry mouth type thing cracking. I'm like, yo, what's going on with your mouth? Why is your mouth so dry? Okay, hydrate. Have, a big deer park right next to you. Take a little label off so you don't have a thing with branding problems. Let's not have that going on. Take that off and get something to drink, man. Get yourself hydrated. You foaming around the mouth. So hopefully he's very well hydrated, very well rested, getting a nice little nap before the thing, and he's ready to get rocking and rolling. All right. I think what's going on, a lot of times when they go out there and speak and they can't speak very well, they are not rested nor hydrated. But the main thing is that they're not rested. So we're going to see. He ready to take it on down, man. Samurai, he ready to take it on down. He ready to go ahead and go to bed. This is C-SPAN and them talking. Okay. So, again, I'm just waiting on Tim Scott to come in. He's on ABC right now. Is he talking? Okay. Now, let's see if he's talking. That's the main thing. All right, because I don't hear him right now. You guys let me know if I'm missing the talk. And then we'll go ahead and get into it. Yeah, I don't see him anywhere. So we're just patiently waiting. Tim Scott, you can't be late, man. You can't be on CP time. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So I'm looking at different places. So this is let's turn the music off so I don't get dinged. So this is like a little promo for it. They're streaming this right now from Republican Senator's official YouTube page. So I presume they're gonna show it, but I'm just waiting on them. That is all I'm waiting for. I got this up. I got C-SPAN up. Okay, I'm looking at C-SPAN. They're kind of just doing some weird stuff. So I'm just waiting. And thank y'all again for being here. Thank y'all for being here throughout the entire time. At the end of this, I'll probably read super chats. So after we get done watching Tim Scott, I'll read super chats, and then that'll be it. We really don't have time for calls, but I'll take calls again coming up Saturday. I'll be back here live again on Saturday, and then we'll take calls at that point. All righty. A minute until Tim Scott. All righty. Well, let's go ahead and get rocking. Let's go ahead and get it rolling. As soon as he is there, I'll be there. Yeah, the fireside chat, that was crazy, Zenny. I saw that little tweet on C-SPAN talking about, it was a fireside chat type thing. It's like, man, it wasn't no fireside chat. Bedside chat. A nurse at the bedside. That's what it was. But anyway. Oh, it's all good. KK Bronson, hopefully I didn't butcher your name and say it in the improper sequence. Thank you. I'm here for y'all. So I'm glad you guys are here with me because I'm here for you guys. Yeah, I heard that Trump's going to bring the rallies back in May. I'm going. The Trump rallies are the best. It's just so fun. Everybody's nice. Everybody's cool. I'm definitely going to a Trump rally for sure. All right, it's just a love fest. Here we go.
Good evening. I'm Senator Tim Scott from the great state of South Carolina. We just heard President Biden's first address to Congress. Our president seems like a good man. His speech was full of good words, but President Biden promised you a specific kind of leadership. He promised to unite a nation, to lower the temperature, to govern for all Americans, no matter how we voted. This was the pitch. You just heard it again. But our nation is starving for more than empty platitudes. We need policies and progress that brings us closer together. But 3 months in, the actions of the president and his party are pulling us further and further apart. I won't waste your time with finger pointing or partisan bickering. You can get that on TV anytime you want. I want to have an honest conversation about common sense and common ground. about this feeling that our nation is sliding off its shared foundation and how we move forward together. Growing up, I never dreamed I would be standing here tonight. When I was a kid, my parents divorced. My mother, my brother, and I moved in with my grandparents. 3 of us sharing one bedroom. I was disillusioned and angry, and I nearly failed out of school. But I was blessed. First, with a praying mama. And let me say this, to the single mothers out there who are working their tails off, working hard, trying to make the ends meet, wondering if it's worth it, you can bet it is. God bless your amazing effort on part of your kids.
You got to attack.
I was also blessed by a Chick-fil-A operator, John Moniz, and finally with a string of opportunities that are only possible here in America. This past year, I've watched COVID attack every rung of the ladder that helped me up. So many families have lost parents and grandparents too early. So many small businesses have gone under. Becoming a Christian transformed my life, but for months, too many churches were shut down. Most of all, I'm saddened that millions of kids have lost a year of learning when they could not afford to lose a single day. Locking vulnerable kids out of the classroom is locking adults out of their future. Our public schools should have reopened months ago. Other countries did. Private and religious schools did. Science has shown for months that schools are safe. But too often, powerful grown-ups set science aside, and kids like me were left behind. The clearest case I've seen for school choice in our lifetimes, because we know that education is the closest thing to magic in America. Last year, under Republican leadership, we passed 5 bipartisan COVID packages. Congress supported our schools, our hospitals, saved our economy, and funded Operation Warp Speed, delivering vaccines in record time. All 5 bills got 90 votes in the Senate. Common sense found common ground. In February, Republicans told President Biden we wanted to keep working together to finish this fight. But Democrats wanted to go it alone. They spent almost $2 trillion on a partisan bill that the White House bragged was the most liberal bill in American history. Only 1% went to vaccinations, no requirement to reopen schools promptly. COVID brought Congress together 5 times. This administration pushed us apart. Another issue that should unite us is infrastructure. Republicans support everything you think of when you think of infrastructure. Roads, bridges, ports, airports, waterways, high-speed broadband. We're in for all of that. But again, Democrats want a partisan wish list. They won't even build bridges to build bridges. Less than 6% of the president's plan goes to roads and bridges. It's a liberal wish list of big government waste, plus the biggest job-killing tax hikes in a generation. Experts say when all is said and done, it would lower wages of the average American worker and shrink our economy. Tonight, we also heard about a so-called family plan, even more taxing, even more spending, to put Washington even more in the middle of your life from the cradle to college. The beauty of the American dream is that families get to define it for themselves. We should be expanding opportunities and options for all families, not throwing money at certain issues because Democrats think they know best. Infrastructure spending that shrinks our economy is not common sense. Weakening our southern borders and creating a crisis is not compassionate. The president is also abandoning principles he's held for decades. Now he says your tax dollars should fund abortions. He's laying groundwork to pack the Supreme Court. This is not common ground. Nowhere do we need common ground more desperately than in our discussions of race. I have experienced the pain of discrimination. I know what it feels like to be pulled over for no reason, to be followed around the store while I'm shopping. I remember every morning at the kitchen table, my grandfather would open the newspaper and read it, I thought. But later I realized he had never learned to read it. He just wanted to set the right example. I've also experienced a different kind of intolerance. I get called Uncle Tom and the N-word by progressives, by liberals. Just last week, a national newspaper suggested my family's poverty was actually privilege because a relative owned land generations before my time. Believe me, I know firsthand our healing is not finished. In 2015, after the shooting of Walter Scott, I wrote a bill to fund body cameras. Last year, after the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, I built an even bigger police reform proposal. But my Democratic colleagues blocked it. I extended an olive branch. I offered amendments, but Democrats used a filibuster to block the debate from even happening. My friends across the aisle seemed to want the issue more than they wanted a solution. But I'm still working. I'm hopeful that this will be different. When America comes together, we've made tremendous progress, but powerful forces want to pull us apart. 100 years ago, kids in classrooms were taught the color of their skin was their most important characteristic. And if they looked a certain way, they were inferior. Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all, by doubling down on the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination, and it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present. I'm an African American who's voted in the South my entire life. I take voting rights personally. Republicans support making it easier to vote and harder to cheat.
Yeah.
And so do the voters. Big majorities of Americans support early voting, and big majorities support voter ID, including African Americans and Hispanics. Common sense makes common ground. But today, this conversation has collapsed. The state of Georgia passed a law that expands early voting, preserves no excuse mail-in voting, and despite what the president claimed, did not reduce election day hours. If you actually read this law, it's mainstream. It will be easier to vote early in Georgia than in Democrat-run New York. But the left doesn't want you to know that. They want people virtue signaling by yelling about a law they haven't even read.
Correct.
Fact checkers have called out the White House for misstatements. The president absurdly claims that this is worse than Jim Crow. What is going on here? I'll tell you, a Washington power grab. This misplaced outrage is supposed to justify Democrats' new sweeping bill that would take over elections for all 50 states. It would send public funds to political campaigns you disagree with and make the bipartisan Federal Elections Commission partisan. This is not about civil rights or our racial past. It's about rigging elections in the future. And no, the same filibuster that President Obama and President Biden praised when they were senators, the same filibuster that the Democrats used to kill my police reform bill last year, has not suddenly become a racist relic just because the shoe is now on the other foot.
That's right.
Race is not a political weapon to settle every issue the way one side wants. It's far too important. This should be a joyful springtime for our nation. This administration inherited a tide that had already turned. The coronavirus is on the run. Thanks to Operation Warp Speed and the Trump administration, our country is flooded with safe and effective vaccines. Thanks to our bipartisan work last year, job openings are rebounding. So why do we feel so divided? Anxious. A nation with so much cause for hope should not feel so heavy laden. A president who promised to bring us together should not be pushing agendas that tear us apart. The American family deserves better, and we know what better looks like. Just before COVID, we had the most inclusive economy in my lifetime, the lowest unemployment rates ever recorded for African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians, and a 70-year low nearly for women. Wages were growing faster at the bottom than at the top. The bottom 25% saw their wages go up faster than the top 25%. That happened because Republicans focused on expanding opportunity for all Americans.
That's right.
In addition to that, we passed opportunity zones, criminal justice reform, and permanent funding for historically Black colleges and universities for the first time ever.
What more could you
We
want?
fought the drug epidemic, rebuilt our military, and cut taxes for working families and single moms like the one that raised me. Our best future will not come from Washington schemes or socialist dreams. It will come from you, the American people, Black, Hispanic, white, and Asian, Republican and Democrat, brave police officers in Black neighborhoods. We are not adversaries. We are family. We are all in this together, and we get to live in the greatest country on earth. The country where my grandfather in his 94 years saw his family go from cotton to Congress in one lifetime. So I am more than hopeful. I am confident that our finest hour is yet to come. Original sin is never the end of the story, not in our souls and not for our nation. The real story is always redemption. I am standing here because my mom has prayed me through some really tough times. I believe our nation has succeeded the same way because generations of Americans in their own ways have asked for grace and God has supplied it. So I will close with a word from a worship song that really helped me through this past year of COVID. The music is new, but the words draw from Scripture. May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you. In your weeping and your rejoicing, he is for you. May his favor be upon our nation for 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children. Good night, and God bless the United States of America.
That was pretty good. That was all right. I'm not mad at that speech. That was pretty good. There were some bumps in the road. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, but that wasn't bad. That was all right. So shout out to Tim Scott. That was the rebuttal to Joe Biden's speech. That was pretty good. You know, some guys may want the fire brimstone pastor talk. I mean, that's not him. I don't really see that as him. I think that was pretty good. I think that if you hate on that speech as a liberal, then it's like, why are you hating? He said a lot of things that you should agree with. Things I don't even agree with. The whole police reform and you follow me around the store. That's not really my wave, but some guys on the left should appreciate that. If they say they didn't like anything that he said, then they're just being partisan blindly. You know, that's all that it is. I can say that I don't like some things that he said and he's on my side, a guy that I like. So why can't they say that they like some things that he said when he's not on their side and they don't like him? You see what I'm saying? But hey, much better than Biden's. Oh yeah, ain't no doubt about it. I like how he gave Trump the credit for the vaccine. I'm not a vaccine guy, but some people are, and that's fine. But you know, you got Biden trying to take credit for that. I like how Tim Scott give the credit to Trump. You know what? If DeSantis and Tim Scott were to run for president, like president, vice president, I wouldn't even be mad at that. That'd be a good ticket. That'd be better than Nikki Haley and people like that trying to run for sure. For sure. All right. Definitely better than Mitt Romney's and those kind of people. Yeah. So that was a good one. It wasn't the best. There were some things that I didn't like and a lot of things that I did like. Much better than Joe Biden. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm seeing mixed reviews on that, but we're going to see tomorrow what the consensus is. The left are going to hate it. They're going to call him all kind of names and everything. The same thing he was saying, he gets called all kind of names by the left. I get called all kind of names by the left too. All kind of names I can't even repeat right here. If I repeat some names that they call me, I'm going to get demonetized for hate speech, for racial slurs. That's how bad it is. And that's actually happened before. I had one video where I said the names that they called me. No curse words, just bad names. And then I got a thing back that says, you've been demonetized on this video, not the whole channel. This is video because of racial slurs. So I can't even say the things on here that they say towards me. So what he said was right on point when it comes to that. All right. So yeah, that was a good one. He was hydrated, well rested. A lot of guys are going there. They halfway foaming at the mouth and they sleepy. He was pretty good. All right. Yeah, I didn't like the race comment too much. I didn't like the whole thing about following around the store. Because it just kind of feeds into the whole victimhood thing. It gives people an excuse to feel like they're a victim. I didn't like that part. But aside from that, I thought it was good. Like I said, I could take what he said and separate what I like from what I dislike. Overall, there was much more that I liked than there was that I disliked. All right. So we're going to get to some super chats here. And then I got to wrap it on up. It was already 10:45. Like I said, we're going to do calls on Saturday, not tonight, because we just had a limited amount of time. So I'll be bringing the calls back on Saturday. So super chats on deck, and then I'll wrap it on up, put the bone on top. Thank y'all again for being here. I couldn't do it without you guys. So I'm going to read super chats right quick, and then I'm gone. So what's the day, the 28th? Wow, I got quite a few here. So y'all just hang tight, grab a Snickers. It's going to be a while. Excuse me. Shout out to Apu for a few super chats. I'm going to read. He says, did I see Glenn Close twerking at the Academy Awards? No, I did not. And thank you for the visual image. I cannot get out of my head right now. Let me see. Shout out to, he also said a few more. Smoke on the roof, fire in the oven, hashtag granny love. Then he says, Joy Reid gets jabbed, jogs with 2 masks on, outdoors, WCH. And also Bernard, Professor Ben Philippe went to harm white. I saw that. That's kind of a disjointed super chat, but I did see that. Where the guy was like fantasizing about hurting white people in the book, talking about gas filling the room and the button under the desk. It was crazy. So kind of professor guy was writing books like that. And then there was like a podcast where they were talking about it. And then the girl was like, oh, I'm of Jewish heritage and I feel afraid. It was like, hey, this is your man. This is your guy, your podcast. This is your colleague. So, hey, man, careful what you ask for. But I digress. He also says FBI raids Rudy Giuliani, the man who saved New York from thugs, criminals, and terrorists. But the FBI has not solved Seth Rich's murder. FBI is corrupt. 1,000%. Leadership's terrible. Thank it to Charles Turner Jr., who says, ABL, at Doug Ripley, and I think you should blame it on Ivan if you're late. Someone's not able to call in. Shout out to my man, Black Conservative Patriot, who says, keep up the great work, ABL. Again, congrats on joining the Married Patriot Club. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for your support. And shout out to you for the super chat. And thank you to Darren for the big ball-in. He had the one that he put his whole stimmy check in the super chat. So thank you, Darren. I appreciate you, man. Thank you to Cece, who says, are we at the point where the people need to overthrow the government? I don't know about all that. That's not really my wave. Thank you to Philip, who says, I love you, ABL. You've been my man on YouTube for over 7 years now. Wow. Thank you, man. You've been here since the beginning. Thank you for sharing your amazing wisdom. Well, thank you for your long-time support, man. I couldn't do it without you, and I'm being serious. Thank you to Apple for a few more, who says, ABL, awesome job on RT debate about LA City reparations for beach given back to black family, which is the morally right thing to do. How about money for the sentence of the Union soldiers who died in the war. Hey, you know what? That's a good question because they were conscripted. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to just volunteer. You had guys that did that, but also they were drafted. But anyway, he says, did I see Damon Bro's White Chicks movie? I no. He says, hey, ABL, you're funny, like Michael Winslow and Jay Farrell. I wonder what a conversation between Ben Crump and Caitlyn Jenner would sound like. You know what's funny about that? You said Jay Farrell. I went to school with him, high school, being serious. I didn't know Jay Farrell. I'm like a year older than him, but I would see him in the hallway. So you're talking about my impressions and stuff like that? Yeah, I went to high school with Jay Farrell, Chesapeake, Virginia. So if you ever seen Jay Farrell on SNL do the skit of the principal, that was my high school principal, Mr. Fry. Teaches his students, and then he would do the impersonation of the gym teacher to say, hey, shut the H up. That was Mr. Vaughn. So yeah, shout out to Jay Farrell. Small road, ain't it? Thank you to Christopher Graves for super chats. He says, just order a custom flag from BC Designs from a former vet's birthday party. Great people to work with. Stay up, ABL. Thank you for that, man. Hopefully you get your flag and you enjoy it for sure. Scuba Dude says, next they're going to take away anxiety and depression meds. Hello, Civil War. That's going to be a problem. Let me see. Thank you to Lily for the working out, keep it up emoji. I had to zoom in because it's like really small on my repeat screen. Let me see. Matthew says, I once heard a joke about black folks, FOLX with an X, and menthols from Dave Chappelle. If we go by his stereotypes, what's next? Grape drink. And he didn't say drink. I said drink. He said grape drink, but it's grape drink and fried chicken. Hey, if they remove chicken from the equation, that's going to be my breaking point. Okay, I could take quite a bit of things that don't go right, and I got a high tolerance for that type of stuff. But if they remove chicken, then it's going to be a wrap. We're going to have to go all the way to the max. All right, and that's facts. Revolution time. Thank you to Tyrannius who says Colt 45 works every time. FA Ranger Xbox says America needs a vaccine from Maxine. If they ban Popeye's fried chicken, Cajun, I will be peed. Buy grape Kool-Aid, sugar content. Let me see. The anti-view says Minnesota middle schooler brought a gun to school and shoot ceiling. Dad states he did it to get the cop to shoot him. Shaking my head. We need mental health reform now. Exactly. That's definitely a problem. Let me see. Shout out to Fauna Faye who says America is so woke that we are awake in a reverse civil rights era. Shaking my head. Whether it comes from white or black, racism is racism, period. Exactly. And there's no reverse racism. Either it's racist or it's not. There's no rule in between. Thank you to Maurice Beast the Beast who says they told us if they told us if they could get Trump out of office, police involved shootings and racism will go away. Looks like it's getting worse. They lie, ABL. That's what I was told. I was told that we got to get Trump out of office because everything's going wrong, and once you get him out, things will go better. But I can't tell if they are saying the correct thing, then I cannot tell where that happened. Thank you to King Shawaki, who says, ABL, my go-to conservative, keep up the great work. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. Thank you. Greatness 31 says, was CNN at this raid as well? You're talking about at the Roger Stone, not Roger Stone, pardon me. They were at the Roger Stone one at the beginning. They may have been at the one where they raided Rudy Giuliani. They may not have been there first like they were at Roger Stone, but they probably were there outside. Shout out to Fauna Faye who says Behar was forced to apologize to Bruce Caitlyn Jenner. They really wrote that, but anyway, for misgendering him, her, but Biden could get away with the gay F word. No problem. Exactly. Just like you said, vote for me, you ain't black. He said that and there was no problem. You had black folks defending him for that. Okay, he said that and it was all good. But anybody else, it'd be an issue. Let's say Trump say something like that, it'd be the end of the world, which lets you know that it's not really that serious. It's only about who says it. Is it really serious? Matthew Phillips says, word on the street is Hunter Biden will teach a course on media polarization and public policy impacts at Tulane University, New Orleans. Don't know if it's true. I had to hear it from a UK source. Yes, it is true. And to make that fancy title, a little bit plain. He'll teach you a course. Hunter Biden, dope fiend, beat me up, Scotty. Hunter Biden will teach you a course on fake news at Tulane University. That's right, Hunter Biden. Now, I'm not really sure how he has any qualifications to do such a thing, but he will be doing it. Greatness 81 says this raid was also a way to distract from the Arizona audit. A lot of information is going to drop. Is Kamala Harris going to help India? I'm sure she will. Or if she won't help India, she'll just kind of pretend to. That'd be kind of how that goes. Matthew says, check out C-SPAN and White House channel dislikes. Yeah, it's been crazy. Darnell McGavick says, parents need to pool funds and sue over all masks. Absolutely. You saw that girl where she passed out? Yeah. If I was her parent, I'd sue immediately because that could cause long-lasting damage. Matthew says, I'm from Bites to Dust. That was a girl that passed out. Uncle Hotep, shout out to you, man. Uncle Hotep says, shout out to ABL. Shout out to Uncle Hotep. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. The Anti-View says, Holly Weird boots homeless from Oscar location. 25 nominees receive $205,000 swag bags. That's $5.13 million. That could have helped a lot of homeless. It could. But you know what? They might as well give it to themselves because if they give it to the homeless, they ain't going to do nothing but just further enable their drug addiction, which is why they're homeless to begin with, but that's a different story. So they may as well just shower that money on themselves rather than just feeding somebody's fentanyl addiction. Trust me says Joe is just sad and low energy. Yes, very sad. Low energy, except for little spurts where he screams at somebody. America's an idea. Top of the lungs screaming for no reason. It's like nobody. America's an idea. That's what he does. But anyway, the Anti-View says this is the Oscars part 2. Yes. Joe Tyree says, I've never hated politicians in my life as much as I did starting November 10th, 2020. I'm with you, man. Thank you for that. Thank you to Hello Boy for Life 2002 who says, with all of America's issues, this fool wouldn't have banned menthol cigarettes. Exactly. It's like, who asked for that? We got some serious actual problems going on and you want to ban menthol flavor from cigarettes and not even the cigarettes themselves? Why? Matthew says, Swalwell, the air end boy. Air end boy. Get it? With the farting on TV. I need my, I need my sound. Do I have it? Hold on. Nah, it ain't that. There it is. Perfect. Thank you to, hold on. I got to get my place back. Thank you to Hello Boy who says, Biden is a VP of China. Exactly. James Richard says, if you're in a room and everybody is wearing a mask, I should be allowed a cigarette. If you can smell the smoke, you never stop a virus. They're leading people astray and the people follow. Jesus Christ, please help us. There you go. Let me see. Our leaders, thank you to James Richard who says, our leaders are what cause society culture. Okay. Our leaders is what our society culture has created. Very scary, especially because nobody's looking up for repentance to heal the land. Lord have mercy on us. Vaccine equals can't buy or sell without it. And thank you to Leo Mazzino who says, barf, we need less government, not more. Exactly. I mean, we got K through 12. It's not going very well. So why you want to add 4 more years of public education? And, my fear is that it's going to be compulsory. They're going to force you to do it. And that's not the wave at all. Let me see. Shout out to Rico C who says, good work, ABL, don't change. Hey, I can't do nothing but be me. So I thank you for that. I appreciate you. Thank you for appreciating me for what I do, being me for appreciate me for me. James Richard says, ABL for POTUS 2024, let's go. Thank you to Donna who says, I'm distracted by Nancy. Her jumping up and down. She looks like she can't breathe with the mask. Sit, yo. Thank you to Brandy Turquoise who says, I got mail address from IRS. It was a letter signed by Joe telling me about a stimulus I was approved for and received 4 weeks ago. Slow Joe taking credit for $600 sent 12/2020 and remaining $1,400 too. Shout out to James Richard who says ABL for POTUS 2024. Let's go. Crystal Wills Divini. I know butcher that and blame a white man for that. Who says notice they gave the sign language woman the night off. Yeah, it's like. Look, man, I know you've been going through a lot. Sign language lady in the corner of the video. So go ahead and take a breather. You don't got to force yourself to go through something like this. Take a breathe, take a night off for sure. All right. Brandon Turquoise also says, single greatest thing, it's a quote, single greatest thing, if I become president, I'll cure cancer, unquote. Joe Biden, you can fact check that one. Yeah, let's see how he's able to actually cure cancer. You can't make a promise about something so grandiose like that. You're not going to really be able to. Anyway, thank you to Christy for your donation. Shout out to the anti-view who says, $5 if he falls off the chair. Pelosi's watching something. And also, this is more up and down than a Catholic funeral. Shout out to James Richard who says, you and I, checks and balances, Washington, D.C., quote, what the H is checks and balances, unquote. It's a fraud and we all participate, reaping now what we have sown. Thank you to Contra who says, it'd be a hope one day you consider inviting Trump on your stream. I love to have Trump on the stream. What do you mean? How am I going to be able to get him though? If I was able to get Trump on the stream, I'd do it right away. If I can get Trump for an interview, man, that'd be great. If I could just shake his hand one time, that'd be the equivalent of an interview for me. Shout out to Demented Liquor who says, even gingers don't want Joe's soul. Thank you to Matthew who says, they look like Scorpion and Sub-Zero back there. That's hilarious. Speaking about Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi, that's hilarious. Thank you to Carlson Banks for the donation. Thank you to Wolfgang who says, let's go back to 1783 when private citizens owned the warships and cannons loaned to the new American Navy and Army. Go to H, Biden. Shout out to B-Wee who says, we the people and the government are not the same. Good point. Thank you to Ty Nicholas who says, what exactly is the government's definition of white supremacy? I have no idea. I guess anytime a white person does something and it's questionable, that's white supremacy. That'd be pretty much what I say. Matthew says, socially distanced during the speech, then not after. It's like, what's the point? Thank you to Don Juan who said, watching from Virginia Beach. There you go. God bless. Thank you for that. Thank you to Watts for your donation. I can't really tell what that is. It's like a fox emoji. Thank you to Wolfgang who says, cancer is not a transmittable disease. There is no way to eradicate cancer. The best way is to live in the way that cancer does not develop. How? Thank you to Todd Kingsdale who says, only the 10th Amendment can save our constitutional republic from this administration now. Just incredible. Thank you for that. Says George Floyd changed the world. Biden has definitely been smoking crack with Hunter. That's funny. Charles Hunter Jr. says critical race theory is a big way for fools, communists, and grievance pushers to grift. Thank you to Benign Sage who says the cure for 1984 is 1776. Did I get everybody? We got a few more here. Bird says, God bless you, ABL. You are the best. Thank you to Per Kalo who says, can't we recall Biden? Hey, if we can, I'm interested to see how we can do that. Just like they recalled Gavin Newsom, and that actually went through. So, hey, we might have Bruce Gender as the next president of your California. It's Bruce Gender. It's me. I have my daughter, all the Jenners, and Kanye West, who'll be my vice president when I'm actually in office. Anyway, shout out to Wolfgang who says, we should be working as a world towards getting to Alpha Centauri. That will solve this climate hoax, the Chinese issue, and all the other problems. Thank you to Theophrastus 3.0 who says, the Justice Department and FBI will regret letting themselves be used as Democrats' Gestapo/KGB. Politicizing themselves ends their credibility. Facts. Thank you to Frank Dest who says, yet no mention of John Benedict Arnold Kerry. Benedict Arnold, yeah, there you go. Talking to the Iranians, what's going on with that? Very good point. He was talking about Iran and whatnot. I'm like, well, why don't you talk about John Kerry? Thank you to Apu who says, ABL, you went to school with Jay Farrell. Wow, I love the Principal Fry skit. The principal really called bad boys job time turkeys. I'm not sure about job time turkeys part, but he did talk just like that. The same speech pattern and everything that Jay Farrell did, that was Mr. Fry. Yep, that was him. Every morning on the loudspeaker, on the announcements every morning. And then sometimes he cut in the middle of the class and just talk to you randomly, kind of whispering, but at the same time kind of loud. Yeah, so yeah, Jay Farrell was my schoolmate. I did not have classes with him because I was a little bit older than him, but I would see him in the hallway all the time. But you know what? The thing about my high school that we went to with Jay Farrell is that everybody all the time was joking. That's like a pastime. joking and just having fun. It was a fun school to go to. Thank it to Frank Dest who says, oh, I already read that one. Thank it to Matthew who says, if college becomes free, that too will become compulsory. What other way can big government justify free subpar education? Exactly. Just like Obamacare, compulsory, because you got to pay for it or pay a penalty, or that was what you had to do. Let me see. FA Ranger Xbox says, can you please remind me of the date of your tragic boating accident? I was so excited I forgot the date and time for my notarized witness statement. Funny. Thank you to Apple who says, Ben Crump, Caitlyn Jenner are conversing what they say. Hey, that's going to be, if I could be a fly on the wall for that conversation between, you want me to do the Ben Crump? Well, Caitlyn, I want to talk to you today because we got a police shooting down in Florida and we have to be involved. Well, Ben, I don't know what to tell you. I think that we need to have some serious, some questions are going on here, but I can't help you because I'm running for governor. I'm not Jay Farrell. You got to get him. Hey, you got to get Jay Farrell to do the impersonation of Ben Crump and Bruce Jenner. I mean, Caitlyn Jenner. You got to get him on that one. Thank you to Pat Brooks for the donation. Shout out to Wolfgang who says, hate is a strong word. Stop using it, Democrats. Why are we allowing each other to so freely use the word hate? Stop. I do not like that word. Yeah, I really don't use the word hate myself. That's not really my wave. I'll say I don't like this person. Or, you know what? I'll keep it to their policies. I don't like this they did or that they did. I don't like using, attacking the person specifically. I'll speak about what they're talking about. Shout out to Jim Boski 45 who says, ABL, thanks for everything. You and AMC? I'm not sure what you're talking about, AMC. I don't know. And shout out to Per Kayla who says, with Caitlyn Jenner running, does it make it a drag race? Hey. No, wrong one. Good one. Good one. All right. So that's all I got for tonight. Thank y'all for being here. Again, we'll bring back the calls on Saturday when I go live. That'll be Saturday right here on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So right around 11 p.m. Eastern time, I'll be here streaming. I'll talk for the first hour or so and then calls the last couple of hours of the show from 9 to about 11. And we got one more here. Thank you to the anti-view who says Biden's speech was a slow clap that never gained momentum. That was a good one. All right. So thank you all and applause to you guys. Applause to y'all for being a great audience. I couldn't do it without you. So thank you to the mods for keeping them trolls in check, keeping everything nice and above board. And that's all I got for now. So until next time, y'all be safe. I'm out. And peace.